Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this panel presentation at Z208. My name is Sapruchi. I'll be moderating today's presentation. Our first presenter is Professor Muhammad Afzaal and Ruoxu Tu. Each presentation will last for 25 minutes, followed by 5 minutes of Q&A. I'll hand it over to Ruoxu for her presentation.
Here. So before my presentation, I want to give a very short self-introduction. I'm the first-year MA student from Shanghai International Studies University. And it is my first time to give presentation on a conference. So if there's any mistakes and if something I didn't do well, I hope you don't mind. Our study is measuring the effect of AI intervention in L2 Learner Corpora's a multidimensional analysis of L2 writing of engineering undergraduates, and I worked with Dr. Afzaal. So, what? It's better here. Our study will be introduced in 4 parts: introduction, method, results, and conclusion. So I think many people here may have interested in or have done some research about L2 writing, which means second language learners. And many comparative and quantitative studies have explored the linguistic differences between L1 writing vs L2 writing, including lexical bundles, structural features, discourse connectives, and there are also some researchers that focus on the variation within L2 writing itself, like linguistic differences across different proficiency levels. And some of them may focus on the linguistic differences of the text in students writing at the same proficiency level, but with different backgrounds, such as nationality or different study major. As the theme of this conference, we have noticed that L2 writing has been rapidly influenced by the emergence of AI tools, as AI has various affordances in L2 writing. It can help to generate full-length text with 0 grammatical error, and it can help generate a coherent language, and it also can finish some specific tasks like correct grammar, enhance vocabulary, polish languages, paraphrasing, or reorganize the structure. So as AI tools has been increasingly accessible to students, also including the L2 writers, so AI-generated content becomes more integrated into L2 writing. As Yan in 2023 pointed out, that the good things is AI do afford pedagogical assistance and enhance efficiency in composing writings, but concerns do exist relating to educational equity, academic honesty, academic integrity, and teachers may have the problem to assess students' actual proficiency in language learning. Therefore, some researchers have started to shift their attention to the linguistic variance and the distinguishability between AI-generated texts and human-written texts. I listed 4 references here. As you can see, all the data they use can be separated into 2 categories. One is completely generated by human writers, and the other one is generated fully by AI through some prompts. They are ensured on the same topics and with similar text length. The methods they applied are various, like Mizumoto et al. Use NLP techniques and machine learning classification, and in the middle, the tool they use multidimensional analysis, and there are also researchers use corpus analytical techniques. And the results showed that AI-generated essays by L2 writers do have some distinct differences from human-written essays. Like, just take a look at Mizumoto et al. In 2020. 2022. Like AI-generated essays have greater lexical diversity, higher syntactic complexity, more nominalization, substantially fewer errors, and higher word counts. Okay, so we've seen that the previous studies, they all focused on AI-generated text and human-written text, but they may ignore a more pervasive phenomenon that is actually the students' writing is the students' writing actually is a hybridized products that co-produced by human and AI, but few studies have explored this field. So our study focused on final year reports generated by L2 undergraduate students in the same engineering department, and we apply Biber's multidimensional framework in 1988 to explore if there are any lexical grammatical variation across reports that showing different levels of AI involvement. Our research questions are what are significant differences in linguistic features between reports with high VS versus low AI interventions. And second one is what are significant differences in textual dimensions between two groups of reports. And the third one, it focuses on registers. We want to see if there are any differences between the two groups of reports compared to Biber's established registers in 1988. So basically there are three levels from linguistic features to textual dimensions, and at last we focus on registers. Okay, so this study is based on corpus by research reports from undergraduate students as well as L2 writers of English from 4 different majors in the same engineering department. The corpus comprises 254 reports with a total word count more than 957,000 words and an average mean word count of more than 3,700 words. Okay. So in the processing procedure of the data, we convert reports in PDF format into plain text format using the PDF minor library in Python, and we manually removing these elements that actually have no business to reflect the ability of students writing. So we just keep the abstract and the main body of the text. As for the assessment criteria of AI intervention to obtain AI scores of the text, we used AI detection models from Turnitin, and it turned out that 78 out of 254 reports are found to have reliable AI scores, which are more than 20%. And we defined that if the text has a AI proportion more than 40%, then it is high AI intervention. If it is equal to 0%, then it is low AI intervention reports. Next one is about Biber's framework. It's called multidimensional analysis. To explain it in a simple way, I think it's important to clarify 3 things. These are linguistic features, dimensions, and registers. So for the linguistic features, it's just to count how many nouns, WH clauses, or certain verbs, certain adjectives appear in a text. After getting the count of each linguistic features, then Biber assumed that certain linguistic features tend to show up together, and he conducted factor analysis on them, grouped them, and called that a dimension. For example, if a text contains past tense verbs, third-person pronouns, perfect aspect verbs, etc., simultaneously, then it is probably giving a more narrative text. Then we call this dimension as narrative or non-narrative. If a text has a higher score on this dimension, then it shows more narrative features, and vice versa. As to registers, it's a types of language used in different situations. For example, academic writing, face-to-face conversations, telephone conversations. Each register shows a different pattern across the dimensions found in previous step. So, okay. Here I listed the 6 dimensions here of Biber's framework. dimension 1 is involved versus informational production. So if the text have higher scores on this dimension, it is more effective or more interactional. If it has lower scores on this dimension, then it contains more information. The second dimension is narrative versus non-narrative concerns. High scores means it has more narrative features. The third one is explicit versus situation-dependent reference. The higher score, then it is more context-independent. The fourth one is overt expression of persuasive. If a text has a higher score on this dimension, then it is more persuasive. On dimension 5, it's abstract versus non-abstract information. Higher score means providing more information in a technical, abstract, and formal way. This last one is online informational elaboration. So if it gets higher score, then it shows informational in nature, but produces under certain time constraints. To obtain the count of each linguistic feature, we use a multidimensional analysis tagger. It is a software by Andrea Nini, and it can help to tag part of speech according to Stanford tagger, and it can identify complex patterns following Byber's rule in 1988. It has successfully replicated Byber's work, and it has high reliability in coping with non-native learners' texts. As a result, we will get several statistical files. These are normalized frequency per 100 words of each tagged feature, z-scores of 67 linguistic features, and the mean score on 6 dimensions of each text. So the last step is the statistical analysis. Just a quick reminder that the first two research questions here is what are significant differences in linguistic features between two kinds of reports, and what are the textual dimensions? What are significant differences on textual dimensions between the two groups of reports? So we apply Mann-Whitney U-text to test if there are any significant differences on these two levels. So for the linguistic features, we apply this text on z-scores of the 67 linguistic features, and we choose rank by serial R to report the effect size. And in a similar way, Mann-Whitney U-text on mean scores on 6 dimensions of each text, and rank by serial R to report effect size. The results shows next slide. The results show that 90 out of 67 linguistic features were statistically different, with notable effect sizes ranged from medium to large. It's accounting for about 28% of the linguistic variance between two groups. In specific, high AI intervention group are characterized by word length nominalizations, non-phrasal coordination, attributive adjectives, demonstratives, present participial clauses, demonstrative pronouns, and these are the features that related to low AI intervention groups. Then next is about textual dimensions. We found that, okay, these three with significant p-value. 3 dimensions show statistically significant differences between high AI intervention texts and low AI intervention texts on these 3 dimensions. And it aligns with the results that found in Berber-Sadinha in 2024, that these 3 dimensions also show greater disparity between AI-generated texts and human-written texts. So through the results here, we can see that high AI intervention reports have a higher score on dimension 3. It shows that it is more context independently, and on dimension 5, high AI intervention has a lower score. It means it is less abstract. And on dimension 1, high AI intervention gets a lower score. It means it contains more information. The last part is the comparison with established registers from Bibers. So the orange dots represent our group in this study. This is the low AI intervention, this is the high intervention, and the green dots represent the Bibers registers. This figure show the positional relation among these registers. So we can see here the low intervention is closer to official documents, and we take a look at the linguistic features that tell the differences on this dimension. We found that high AI intervention reports use more nominalizations. And on dimension 5, low AI intervention reports is closer to official documents, and high AI intervention is closer to religion. High AI intervention reports use less conjunctions and agentless passives. On dimension 1, low AI intervention group closer to official documents, and high AI intervention reports significantly have these linguistic features. And on dimension 4, high AI intervention group is closer to press reviews, and they tend to use less necessity models. On dimension 6, high AI intervention group closer to biographies, while low AI intervention group is closer to official documents and telephone conversations. And high AI intervention reports tend to use more demonstrative pronouns, but with less that clauses as verb complements, that relative clauses on object positions, and existential there. Okay, the last one. On dimension 2, high AI intervention group is closer to broadcasts. High AI intervention reports tend to use more attributives and have longer word length, but with less past tense verbs and public verbs. So in conclusion, after we compared the linguistic features and the textual dimensions on these two different groups, we found that more than 1/4 linguistic features showed statistical variance between high AI intervention reports and the low AI intervention ones. That means for more than 25% of linguistic features can tell the difference from these two kind of reports. And as for the textual dimensions, reports with higher AI involvement tend to be more informationally dense, more context independent, and less abstract. And the last one, we compared our reports with Bibers established registers. We found that on each dimension, two groups of reports also have register variation. So the contribution of this study is it provides an analytical perspective on human and AI interaction in the writing process, and it offers a linguistically grounded method for measuring the degree of AI intervention rather than those dark boxes approaches. But we also have a limitation as we lies in the fact that our the subjectives of this study is limited to engineering students. So in the future, we may want to expand the sample population to a more diverse range. Thank you very much. Any questions or suggestions?
I got a question. What do you mean by closer to religion? Closer to religion.
Closer to religion.
Go forward. Go down. Second last slide, I think.
Here, dimension 5.
Yeah.
So this is basically the registers that calculated by Biber, and just in the level at the level of scores, it is more similar to religion on this dimension, abstract versus non-abstract information. So we need to see how religion shows this kind of features on this dimension. Then maybe it accounts for that AI intervention reports
So we're talking about religious texts.
Yes, register, religion register.
You can turn that off. It can hear you.
On dimension 5. So Bible concluded these registers. It's just showing the characteristics of each register on this dimension. Like maybe, could you?
Yeah, turn it off.
Yeah.
Turn it off.
Slides.
Turn in each slide.
In results parts and
Slide that has
dimension 5.
described a lot of registers, just generally. And then in this study, there's been some sort of correlation with what the register that the
So why do you? I don't need the mic. So why?
turn it off. Collaboration together.
No, I'm just the moderator. Yeah. Is the next presenter here? Okay. Can I have your PPT?
Conference. Interesting.
You start at 9:30. So just
Later on, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, good.
Qualitative.
Okay. And I try to control by myself, right?
Okay.
Okay. Oh, okay, thanks.
The next presentation will begin in 3 minutes. Yes. So our next presenter is Professor Huang. Her topic is students' motivation in AI-empowered education, a mixed method study. Professor Huang, please.
So good morning, and this is I'm going to share today is about the students' motivation in an empowered education. And actually, we were trying to understand how students use the large language models in their language writings. So this is a mixed methods study. Sorry. Oh. So as we know now, they like the large language models like ChatGPT, or we said the DeepSeek, they are being commonplace in the university classrooms, especially in the language learning. So we're trying to understand 49 first year business English major students, how they use the LLMs to in their language learning. Okay, and those 49 students, they are from a professionally oriented university in Chuanzhou, Fujian. Okay, this is the two questions we are going to take. The first one is, how do these students, they use the LLMs, the large language models, in writing? And the second is, how does it affect their motivations? Okay, so because in the use of the LLMs in language learning have got a lot of the uncertainty. Is it ethical, educational, or as we said, most importantly, how do these tools impact students' motivation? And we grounded our theoretical framework into self-determination theory and also the discourse analysis. Okay, so in that way, we can both find out what students feel and how they are articulate these feelings. Under self-determination theory, we have the three core aspects: autonomy, competence, and also the reluctance. And for the discourse analysis, we are going to understand how students, they express their motivation through language. And comes the research design. We take this research, okay, during a semester-long writing course. And 49 freshmen majoring in business English participated with the research was with a mixed methods approach. That means we have the qualitative and also the quantitative methods. And for the data collection, we have the three types of the writing task, followed by the reflective roles for the qualitative analysis. A sample of the 20 students, they also try to submit it extended reflective access. Okay, of course, the research is actually undergoing. So this is the way we're trying to do, but the result is not yet. Okay, not coming yet. And so today what I'm going to share is some ways, some research designs that may be being applied into. So the quantitative analysis and qualitative analysis are both conjunct to trying to find out the results. Can I use the mouse here? Okay. Okay, the very preliminary findings here comes out is we use mostly the students, about 37%, they showed intrinsic motivation because they used the large language models because they enjoy it. And around 41.7% were extrinsically motivated. They are aiming for a better or a good grades. 47% seemed confused or uninterested, and 98% still remained. They did not use the LLMs, not at all. Okay. And also, the very preliminary results tell us that LLMs that actually do not affect or always impact all students the same way. For some of them, they are trying to use the LLMs to enhance engagement, but sometimes they may able to avoidance. Okay, so the key
trying to understand the student's mindset, the motivation that determines whether LLMs are tools for growth or shortcuts. And also, maybe there are some implication for teaching. That was the LLMs. They can be a supportive autonomy that we are trying to help students to build the competence. And also, we need to discuss the ethics and also the monitor the motivations. In the conclusion is that the motivation actually that matters. The LMMs are not inherently we say good or bad in the language learning, okay, or in the university classroom. Their effect depends on how students use them. Why? Okay, so motivation matters. If we designed teaching around the motivation, we can ensure that LLMs serve learning, not shortcut it. Okay, so this is my sharing. Thank you. And thank you for your time and attention. Okay, any suggestions are welcomed. Okay, thank you. Any question or suggestion?
Thank you so much for the presentation. Thank you so much for the presentation. It's time for questions and answers. If you have any question, you can ask. Yes.
Thanks for your presentation.
Sure.
Nice, very interesting. Can I ask what specifically, how did you analyze the data for intrinsic, extrinsic, and can you give us some examples?
Okay, so because we trying to ask students, they have 3 different writing assignments, and also after the writing assignments, they need to write a reflective roles. And by using the reflective words, we trying to investigate with the reflective roles, we use the discourse analysis to get out the results and how they articulate their feelings. Okay, so actually that was a qualitative methods to put it out. Okay.
So like you looking for specific words in there, right?
Yes, yes. But actually the research is still undergoing. So we are trying to find out more particular results. This is just a preliminary sharing. So I welcome any suggestions or questions.
Interviewing the participants.
Yes, actually, we didn't use the interview. We used the reflective roles, trying to understand how they feel. Okay, reflective roles. Thanks.
Can you say more about the writing tasks that they did?
The writing what?
The tasks they did. You said they performed some tasks. This one.
Okay. You mean the 3 types of
Yeah, can
writing
you say more about
writing
it?
tasks? Okay. So we assigned the 3 different writing tasks because this is a writing course, and the writing tasks there I have different 3 different the different 3 different tasks. That means actually they are the general writing, but follow with each writing, we will ask them to also write a reflective roles to tell us how they used LLMs and helping they to finish the writing. Okay, so some of students they may tell us in the reflective roles they finish the writing task. They have the human and AI interaction ways to finish it. Okay, and how do they feel when they use the LLMs, the AI by helping to finish the writing task. So the reflective roles is a key way to help us to investigate how students they use the large language models in their learning. Oh, I got it. Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
and what's the subject of the
Okay.
tax as well?
Actually, there are 3 different business emails. Ask them to communicate, to do the business communication. Yes, yes, that was the writing task. It was in forms of the business emails because this is a writing course. So we asked them to do the business email writing. The business. Okay, the first one is when they receive the complaint, how they will do a feedback on it, because that was a negative information. We're trying to find out how they tackle with negative information. And the second is they need to inform their customers a new price list for a product. Okay, so that was the second one. And also the third one is there are some mistakes when they delivering products to the customers. So they need to do an explanation. Okay, so that was the different writing tasks. Actually, it was informal business emails.
Thank you. Did you control for the large language models that they used? Did you ask them to use a specific large language model, or they can use anyone they want?
Actually, in our classroom, ChatGPT is not so available. So most of them they use the DeepSeek, or we said the Doubao. So I didn't require them to use which, but most of them they just use the Doubao and the DeepSeek. These 2. Okay. Yep, sure. Yes, actually, it's an individual class and in a single semester, just one semester too long.
Okay, all right. And then also because you have already explained about the 3 different types of the emails, did you, as the instructor, actually read the emails before they use the LLM? You assign them the 3 different emails. Did you actually read the emails before your students use the LLM, or after they have drafted the emails, you immediately got them to use the LLM?
Oh,
Which
no.
one?
When they use the LLMs, that before they write the emails, they can have the LLMs in helping their writing. Yes. But a very key one is the promote. Okay. I think when students who can write we say a good or a efficient email, is also that means they need to have a efficient promote to ask LLMs, to ask the AI. Yes, this is an English class. Okay.
Any other question before I ask my last question? So, okay.
All right, thank you. I just want to know what is your perception then when they use the LLM in order to do the emails. What is your view? Are you like promoting the use of LLM, or do you think that the students should not be using LLM, and then just drafted the email using their knowledge?
Oh, it's very always that they are open to use it. What you mean?
Encouraging. You are
Yeah,
encouraging.
we encourage it, but it's because we want to see how the LLMs can help them to what degree they can, what kind of degree they can, the LLMs can helping them to finish such kind of the email. Okay,
Thank you.
actually we encourage it, but yeah.
Thank you. Before you conducted this study, did you notice any low motivation in terms of, when they were still writing emails without LLMs? Did they have this anxiety about writing emails? And have you considered probably doing a more quasi-experimental study where you probably assess their motivation before these introduction of AI-empowered education, and then probably assess their motivation to see if these AI empowered education really, increase their motivation, or it was just the same motivation they had?
Oh, actually, what you mean is that do we do a comparison before they use the AI or and after use the AI? Yes, actually we do a reference or we are doing a comparison. They need to in a limited time in a limited space, they need to firstly finish the writing assignments. That was without AI. But after the class, they also need to finish one. Okay, we then can do the comparison to find it out. Yes.
Thank you so much. If there's no other question, I think that's the end of the presentation. So the next presentation will begin at 10 a.m. Sure. No problem.
Share some insight from what we have got and see if there is like time for Q&A session, then we can interact a little bit about the findings and see how we can all move forward together. And then for the next part, maybe, yeah, thank you. Yeah. And just a little bit of background information for the SWOT analysis of our students in EMI College. And we see that they are eager to learn and they are creative and they have a lot of resources to be exposed to. But then they're weak in self-directed learning. And usually when they are forming written discourse, the tone, the register may not always make sense in the adult workplace situation, especially in paper 3 for DSE English. And we see that opportunities come from AI and also e-learning strategies. But then if we just give them AI, what we know would be some students, hopefully not the student here today, may copy directly from AI and submit as homework. And I guess it is a shared experience among educators, us, no matter where we come from. And that's why we are thinking of what we can do in our trial. And what we observe in our lessons, in our exploration is that students are curious about how the AI functions are like, but they may have misconceptions. And that's why we think that us as teachers should be here to guide them. And that is something that we can do. And but then the challenges may be something that we can focus on, like when there's AI, is there here to replace human beings directly? And when the AI is so powerful, so knowledgeable, what is the role of teachers? Are we still important? And what we can do? And that's why the objectives for our studies will be as follows: to help students become critical users of AI and help them become self-directed learners and to maintain a focus on human agency. And the next part, we can see that is the exploratory focus with a cycle of studies. We focus on how the ideas are being brainstormed, and then we try them in our classrooms in a small class setting. And we share the findings within the panels, and then with the feedback, we move forward. And just a little bit of background information about the two of us for your information. And last year, I got the Chief Executive Award for Teaching Excellence for AI in Education and also for self-directed learning in English. So hopefully the thing that I shared today may be more practical, and if there is any feedback, feel free to share, please. And I hope to be able to share the ideas in the panel as well. That's why I've invited Ms. Kitty Wong, who is also eager in trying e-learning and also creative strategies to see how her students in the classroom and also outside the classroom may benefit from the new pedagogical strategies that we are discovering. And focusing on the lesson studies itself, there are two main parts for my sharing, and before I move on to Ms. Kitty Wong. And the first part is an overview of how the senior form curriculum is like in Yinghua College. In Form 4 to Form 6, we focus on real-life application of English language with career and workplace situation being in place. And that's why we have workplace writing. And also we see that because students are so stressed, they have well-being concerns that we teachers also want to focus on. And that's why we're wondering whether AI, being so powerful, can take the role of supporting students' mental well-being, whether they can be functioning as counselors, social workers, so as to lessen the burden of the support team. And that is one of the major focuses that we want to look at. Beginning with the first part, the career research project is something in place in Yinghua College. In Form 5 and Form 6, we do workplace-related items in collaboration with the careers team in order to boost students' readiness for lifelong training and also life planning. And in English language, we have the project in which they interviewed the alumni in order to understand more about the careers that they are interested in. But then the situation is during the pandemic, and when the alumni may not be always available and the quotas are limited in the careers day, the face-to-face chit-chat with our alumni and members, we see that AI may be one of the agents for students to interact with in order to get more insight and more expertise knowledge about different industries. That's why we looked at how AI may function a little bit in this role. And there are four major focuses that we focus on, and every time I'll move back to this slide in order to give us a better overview of how the progress is like. So the first part is we invited students to interview with the AI. So basically it is kind of asking students to think of prompts. What questions we will ask if you treat AI as a real human being, as for example, as a professional doctor, as an architect, what questions you'll have in mind about the industry, feel free to ask it and see how the responses are like. So we collected the feedback, the responses on Padlet, and also the questions on Google Documents, and we discuss how useful the ideas are before we move on to the next stage. The next stage is asking students to really create the writing. The writing text type is a feature article to report how the different professions and industries are like in Hong Kong or in a destination that they want to explore furthermore. And then for this part, we asked students to analyze two pieces of feature article about the industry. And before we told them which one was AI generated, which was human written, they were all just given the two pieces of writing. And I asked them, oh, guess which one was written by me, which one was written by the AI program. And they tried to vote for which one, but before they just decided on how to distinguish between AI and human written work, I gave them a framework as shown on the right-hand side. I gave them the Google form for them to rate whether it is human-like, whether they think that there is creativity, whether there's the human sense in the writing itself. And also in the findings, we realized that students thought that, oh, the writing has language errors, so it must be human written. And it seems that to err is to human seems to be legit and also shared as a consensus among human students in my class. And you can also see some other feedback from the students saying that the AI's work is perfect, but it seems that the examples are not that concrete. Maybe it is how we see AI is based on big data, and the data may not be specifically related to the context, for example, in Hong Kong, and that's why the examples may not be that down to earth. And after that, we try to link the experience back to the DSE examination, because at the end of the day, students are facing the examination, and students in Yinghua are quite exam aware, if not exam oriented. But we try to connect the things together in order to help them see that there's life beyond the DSE. And what we did was bringing it back to the DSE question of workplace situation. And in this situation, we asked the students to create the output related to this DSE writing by using AI directly. Because we know that some students must be thinking that, oh, I can submit my homework with AI. AI is so perfect. Teachers will never discover that. Is that true? Hopefully not. And that's why in this situation, I encourage students to just use AI to create it and then see whether we can discover how AI or how human it is like. And after the process, it seems that the students all discover that AI written work is really AI written. It is very different from what human students can write. And I hope that this gave them the awareness that as students, as human students, they should know what they should and what they can do and what teachers can also discover in order that they know what they should do in the English lessons is also conducive to their learning and also lifelong development in the real world setting. And after that, I've got another example about well-being. So in Yinghua College, we have Yinghua values being installed in which self-directed goal setting is one of the major concerns for students to discover not just academic goals, but also lifelong goals for their personal development and personal well-being. So we make use of SMART goal as the model. And in this regard, I invited my class to see whether AI is helpful to be their personal trainer, personal counselor, or a social worker. And in the initial sharing by students, they told me that they did not feel very happy or very unhappy about lessons. But when I asked them about the sources of stress, it seems academic was one of the major focuses among students. So it seems that studying gives them a lot of pressure, a lot of stress. And that's why there is something to settle, something to solve. And with the intervention of the collaborative exploration, I asked the students to ask AI some questions using the bot that I have created. I asked the AI bot to be a well-being buddy, try to provide supportive messages and encouraging words to students. And I asked the students to try to interact with it when they were facing the before they face the examinations to see whether it is supportive or not. And the following are the responses provided by the AI program. Let's see whether you think that they're supportive or not. Hey there, remember, it's okay to feel overwhelmed sometimes, blah, blah, blah. And hey there again, just a reminder that you are doing your best and that's enough. Take a deep breath, focus on something that's important to you. And again, hey, something else. And hey again. Let me pause here for 5 seconds. See whether you find them good enough or not. Raise your hand if you think that they are as good as the words that I give my students. Raise your hand if you think that, oh, my words are better. You should be raising your hand because it seems like AI cannot replace us yet in this regard. In this more human domain, it seems that the words are quite repetitive and they're quite generic and they didn't focus on the actual situation of the students' context. And there's like no interaction. It's just a phrase like asking you to just calm down, just relax. And very often we realize that it's not effective enough. So do our students. When I asked the students to share what they felt about the AI's result, they reflected that they found them not that supportive. And they even used these descriptions to describe the supportive words from AI, saying that it's bland and cold and there's no human passion in it. And some of them even wrote a passage of reflection to say how useful or how not useful the AI programs are. Some of them told me that AI is actually useful to help them set goals as something more concrete, something about a long-term development timeline for them to follow. But when it comes back to mental well-being, they realize that human teachers and human friends are still very important as one of the balancing forces when they are navigating through the sea of stress and pressure. And other students also share that AI tools, and in the bottom paragraph, AI tools can help students manage stress with personalized study plan and answering questions. But when it comes to the professional support, they also understand that AI is not professional. They are not professional educators, counselors, and such. And that's why it seems there's a gap between what we think AI can do and what AI can actually do in the more human domain. And the post-writing activity, I asked the students to also do writing again to see how actually they can apply the skill and also reflect on the experience. And I think I will go through this part more quickly. Maybe you can take a picture if you want to see whether it may be applicable to your classroom in the future setting when the students are different. And what are the findings from the study? We realized that through the workplace and also well-being discoveries, AI is perfect in some ways, but also imperfect in the others. And for example, AI is polished, but not necessarily better. Like lengthier or more comprehensive piece of work may not always be reflective or concrete enough compared to what humans, professionals may have in mind. And in the well-being regard, we realize that it may help with self-directed learning with the more concrete, more substantial substance, more physical substance. But when it comes to the more mental and social well-being setting, it may still be lacking in terms of the comparison. And the way to move forward, we see that AI can simulate how experts can be like, and it can provide some support to a certain extent in terms of emotional literacy. But in terms of how students assume about AI's powers and the AI's limitation, we see that there is room for further exploration. That's why we have further studies inside and outside the classroom. And now I'll pass the time to Miss Kitty Wong to share something that she did in her classrooms. Thank you, Kitty.
Thank you, Barney. So yeah, building up on Barney's presentation just now, we all know it right now, AI isn't perfect, right? But then what is the question right now? How do we move beyond simply putting out AI, using AI in the classroom to helping students to truly leverage it for deeper learning? And that's the second part of our presentation, right? And my approach here, I focus on fostering students' critical thinking and how we actually help them achieve something via the use of AI, perhaps self-directed learning. Because for me, AI, it's never a replacement. We can treat it as a mentor, a tool to guide, to challenge students, or perhaps to empower them, right? So I strongly encourage students to make use of AI tool in terms of language learning, right? And so before I move on to how I actually use it in the classroom, so Barney just now introduced two different systems. One is the so-called A-level system he used in the classroom, and then another one is the DSE one. So basically, we focus a little bit more on DSE because students at our school, they are so worried about the exam, how they have to achieve better, how they need to get the skill necessary for example, writing, reading, or listening paper. And that's why we hope to make use of AI as a platform to help them perform better, or at least get some assistance when they're outside of the classroom in daily lives. Right, so everything starts with the basic step, and I start with teaching my students to make use of a better prompt. Right, so we can have a look at the first step. And that's because I believe that asking students to design a prompt is exactly the same as asking them to understand the task requirement. Before you actually start playing the game, you need to know how you have to play the game and the rules of the game, right? So I asked the student to break down the task requirement to understand what they have to do for each and every steps of the task and create a detailed prompt before they even start touching the AI stuff. Right, so they have to identify elements like what arguments they need to have, the necessary structure from the beginning till the end, anything that you believe you need to remind the AI, like AI is your student, right? So we are here to ask students to understand the whole picture of the task. And for example, I ask students to enter the initial prompt. In this task, I asked them to generate arguments both for and against the building of extra sports center for young people. And they have to develop the argument based on different stakeholders. And then ultimately, they try to make use of the arguments they have and then develop another prompt. And in this case, I asked them to consider, right, what do you have to include in your two-sided argumentative essay? Okay, do you need an intro? How long will the writing be? Okay, and any elements that you learn in daily classroom, like transition, ending paragraph, how are you going to ask the AI to polish your writing? That's a crucial step, right? And that's because understanding the use of prompt, it helps students to understand the whole picture. And after all, throughout the process of how they edit or change, revise the prompt, it's the process of how they process the consideration. Are there anything left behind? Should I add any extra element to my prompt? Or is it because I missed out something initially? That's the crucial process of how they manipulate their own mind and how they try to go through the whole task. Right? And this is the purpose of how we ask students to take a look carefully at the whole picture before we move on again. Right? And then what is the next step? I always ask students to be critical. And I believe that the process of using AI includes a very critical process of how you filter the information that you get. Right. So initially, what I ask students to do is, okay, you generate the argument, you get all sort of argument from AI. Some might be applicable, some might be, I can't say trashy, right? Some may be less relevant to the topic, right? Okay, so here comes the real work. Students, they then have to critically evaluate all the information generated. Is it logical? Can I actually find any evidence for the argument? Or is it relevant to the context that I'm writing? For example, you are trying to build sports center for the young. If the arguments they are about the elderly, are you going to use it? You're not going to copy and paste all the information from AI. Yeah, copy pasting is not the ultimate way that we're always learning, right? And throughout the whole process, students, they are trying to develop the necessary media literacy skills that they need for the use of AI, and they are slowly, gradually become more wise user of AI, right? And how they're going to make use of the data and go to the next step. Right, and they have to refine, right, eliminate the weak one, and they pick the stronger one or the relevant one. And we're not stopping here. You're not simply using the whole argument given by the AI. What do you have to do next? You have to put your own insight into the answer given by the AI. Generate your own idea. Generate your own voice and imagination. You combine it with the answer you get from the AI, right? And it's a process of taking in your extra information, and from it, you can enrich your data bank as well. You have the idea in your mind for the next writing. And for this writing, you combine it and you make it your own one. And that's what we call human touch, the third step, right? How you integrate the arguments into your ultimate writing and ensure that you're using the authentic language, what you're trying to express with your own voice. Because throughout the process, I emphasize the importance of taking the ownership of the material. You are not relying on AI. You're making the product your own unique one, right? So it's very dangerous for students to over-rely on the use of AI, because once they make use of the answer generated without critical thinking, it hinders their ability to express further, right? So ultimately, what is the product? My student create a wall of argument, right? They select, they delete, they add in some insight or example they get online, and then this is a wall they use to collaborate later on for the whole writing. Right, and I truly believe that the use of AI sometimes, all right, we are telling students that it's not gospel, right? And as I come up with just now the conclusion, copy pasting is never the learning, and we have to allow students to understand the importance of originality and authenticity via the use of AI as well, right? So after talking about something inside the classroom, the use of AI can extend far beyond the classroom wall. I pull it outside the classroom as well. All right. So the first step here, the reason why I ask students to try to make use of AI in their daily life, it's because it sometimes fosters their independence. And then in the classroom, I have to be honest, it's somehow difficult for teachers to tailor-make every exercise or cater to learner diversity. We have so many students here. So for a student who want to receive extra help, they can rely on AI or choose some suitable platform for them to learn according to their own pace, right? For example, I'll introduce one platform that we recently look into later on, a platform to help students identify the mistake in the writing and then have tailor-made exercise for them. It somehow also encourages them to further explore, to spark the creativity and become a wise internet user when they have to synthesize information, right? So for self-directed learning, I encourage students to make use of AI for like vocab or grammar build-up. Okay, for example, like Quizlet, Hyperwrite, they can generate a vocab list. So what I did previously, before students, they had their short story writing, I asked them to look for a list of vocab that you want to use. For example, they can ask AI, if I want to say how I walk, how many words can there be? And the AI generate a list of words to describe how they walk, how they laugh, how they smile, and they take in the word on their own, right? And somehow it can also provide tailor-made grammar explanation for weaker students when they want to learn on their own outside of the classroom. Right, for example, right, this is the platform that I want to introduce. So we experienced that before. Okay, asking students to upload their writing online and then get some tailored feedback, and ultimately they get their tailored exercise. Yeah, and then also ask students to use AI for further exploration. This is fun because once my student tried to ask AI for critical analysis of Shakespeare and then to get more interpretation, and that's how it sparks creativity, right? Okay, we also use AI to improve accuracy, right? To identify errors in products, provide feedback like Grammarly, how we use it in our daily life as well, with better word choice, sentence pattern, and improved our writing as well. Okay. And I also make use of AI in my own debate too, right? So initially, my team, they attempted to rely heavily on AI, and then at the beginning, they generate argument, make use of like AI platform, ChatGPT, feeling like there might be elaboration. But then from time to time, they realize that, yeah, the arguments are not beautifully crafted, they are not evidence-based, and they might not be convincing, right? So that's why they turn to another AI platform, another approach, right? This is a crucial shift where they take AI as a starting point for research only, not the finishing line. Yeah. And two crucial platforms that they always use, and I'm introducing that, Perplexity and Cite, where they ask the question online. They are not copying any explanation here, but they look for the footnote, okay, which is the authentic sources that they might have, like scholar, like studies, authentic, reputable newspaper article to any journal, right? And then they can click inside and then get the authentic sources. All right, and then once they have to go on the debate motion with the topic, recycling is just greenwashing. That's, again, one of the debate questions that they have in the UN match. And then they struggle to actually understand the meaning of the word greenwashing. And then they asked AI. AI was like, it's not explaining anything about greenwashing locally. So that they turn to Perplexity and then asked about the concept of greenwashing. And creatively, they asked for the example of companies that might be involved in the practice of greenwashing as well, and then get more example for their future work, right? Ultimately, my team member, they understand that this is how they have to build a well-informed case. They are not copying from AI, right? And they have to combine the power of AI and human intelligence, their critical thinking, and prioritize authenticity over convenience, right? So ultimately, after all of our sharing, what is the genuine role, or what are the roles of AI? And I'm starting with 3 different perspectives. I believe that AI is here to cater for learner diversity as a personalized learning companion. Okay, we're analyzing students' diverse learning style and provide them with feedback. All right. We're also using AI to enrich. It's a search engine or research assistant for a student where it's able to sift through vast amount of information and it saves time, right? And we only have to focus on analysis and synthesis. Last but not least, it's here to help students explore and be creative. Okay, we're here to brainstorm and come up with alternative ideas like vocab, writing ideas for students. Ultimately, we're using AI as a springboard for creativity. It's not about fearing technology, but helping students to explore, enrich, and empower, and they identify the potential and limitation of it. Yeah, so I guess this is pretty much the end of our presentation today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think we have time for one question. Any question? Yeah, it's perfect. Excellent, yeah. Okay.
Thank you. It was really inspiring. But I also wondered when you were talking, you all like, you know, like all giving teachers, you are all focused on the student well-being. But what about like your own well-being, and how do you take this AI as it becomes a more part of your job every day?
Yeah, I would say that our well-being as teachers is, of course, very important. Even not in the meetings, but maybe in our chit-chat, we always say, oh, how stressful is it to mark the writing, especially as language teachers, and then lesson planning and such. I think we all know how AI is helpful to our students, but for us teachers, we're also actively seeking the support from different programs through different platforms. We can see how lesson planning and also actually, I think some fellow co-workers or fellow educators may be exploring the capacities of AI-based marking. And we also are trying some programs. And of course, we see that there are limitations. And also, of course, it is very fast, and sometimes in terms of language marking, it's quite accurate. It can support teachers' role. But I would say that as teachers, we are not trying to shed away our workload because we are still here to educate, but the tools can be here to help us, to help our students. So there can be like 2 markers for the same piece of marking. So it can mimic the double marking kind of setting. And also when we try to provide feedback to students, instead of the students waiting in line, trying to ask us questions after raising their hands, there can be a platform for them to get first line of answers first before we provide our further insights for the students. So I say that we are not necessarily less busy, but there are tools for us to explore in order to maximize and to leverage in order to help students become better ones. Yeah, see if my colleagues have other points to share. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for the presentation and the question and the answer. So we'll now go for coffee break, and then we'll come back for another presentation before the keynote. I think the coffee break is outside there, so enjoy.
AI 咧係需要咧根據翻 DSE 現有嘅題型啦，即係有一個係持份者意見嘅部分，咁我哋會有特別咧去增加咗入去嘅，係啦。好，咁然後你見到下面條問題啦，咁樣，咁其實下面條問題都係 base on 翻 DSE 現有嘅題型啦。例如今次呢一條咧，就應該係選擇咧2個政策面邊一個可以達到某一個經濟嘅目標咁樣。咁然後同學仔就可以輸入佢嘅作答，咁佢嘅作答唔一定要係 full paragraph 嘅，咁可能一段其實就已經 OK。咁 AI 咧就會即刻咧 generate 到佢嘅 comment，咁包括咧會有同學仔做得好嘅地方。咁我諗呢一個咧都係我哋作為經濟科老師啦，或者人文學科老師咧，我哋平時比較難處理到嘅部分嚟嘅。咁因為我哋其實好難好大段字去寫同學有啲咩做得好，我哋可能只係 verbal 講一次咁樣。咁對於同學仔嚟講，未必記得自己做得好嘅部分，咁 AI 就可以幫我哋處理咗呢一個 gap 嘅部分啦。咁另外亦都會俾到一啲咧可以做 further elaboration 嘅部分啦，會有一啲引導嘅問題，咁亦都會 comment 翻佢哋個結構寫成點樣。係啦，咁另外又都會有一個 conclusion 咧，就同學仔講總結嚟講，其實篇文可以有啲咩角度去做改善咧咁樣。咁而後面咧亦都會有一個 based on AI 嘅建議而修訂嘅一篇 sample essay 會出現咗嘅。咁呢一個 sample essay 係 based on 翻同學仔自己原初嘅答案，再加 AI 嘅 comment 咧而修訂而成嘅一個即係 sample paragraph 咁樣。咁我哋個 AI 嘅運作，個 bot 嘅運作大約會係咁樣。咁而具體嚟講個 design 咧，其實我哋一開始係先做咗一啲 need assessment 先嘅。咁我諗無論喺課堂上咧，其實我哋都會知道同學仔學習嘅痛點喺邊度啦。而作為老師，我哋都會知道咧，呢一個 DRQ 即係對於啱啱入職嘅老師嚟講咧，其實都係一個新嘅題型啦。過往嘅 resources 亦都唔算好多啦，咁樣。咁所以其實我哋處理呢一個部分係會有困難嘅，包括用嘅時間或者係中間需要嘅一啲 efforts 啦。咁然後我哋咧亦都會有一啲 input 俾到個 AI bots 嘅，呢一樣嘢咧亦都係我哋點解要自己特別去 design 個 AI bots 而唔係用一個 existing 嘅。咁例如我哋會放咗啲課程文件啦 supplementary notes 啦。咁而呢一個 bots 同其他人用嘅 bots 嘅分別咧，就係在於老師自己嘅 input 啦。咁我哋係將我哋學校自己即係老師自己嘅筆記係有放埋入去啦。校內過往咁多年嚟嘅一啲歷屆考試卷，我哋又放埋入去嘅。咁令到呢一個 database 咧，其實就會比較校本少少，針對翻我哋同學仔自己嘅需要啦，老師自己嘅教法啦，老師自己一直以嚟嗰個邏輯嗰個 flow 去處理。咁然後同學仔就會不停去做一個 trial and revision 啦，就會係不停俾 comment 翻個 AI 啦。咁而老師亦都會 comment 翻俾個 AI 知道，其實我哋應該點去批改同學嘅工作嘅。係啦，咁我哋今年啦就做咗3個 intervention 嘅。咁第一次其實就係先俾同學接觸 AI 呢一樣嘢，係啦，即係包括係佢哋發現原來 POE 嘅登入都可能會有啲障礙啦。咁呢個話我哋先處理咗一啲 technical issue， 同埋確保佢哋識得用個 AI 先。咁亦都係因為呢一個位，咁所以就出現咗頭先嗰個 introduction prompt， 話俾同學仔原來 AI 咧一開始係要俾一個好明確嘅指令嘅。咁跟住 AI 即係同學就嘗試作答咗一篇 AI generated 嘅題目啦。咁而嗰篇essay 咧係由 AI 同埋老師共同去批改嘅，老師係有將佢嘅 comment 咧，亦都輸入埋去 AI 度，令到 AI 明白老師嘅一個批改嘅要求。咁去到第3次嘗試嘅時候咧，就係一篇過往校內嘅歷屆考試卷嚟嘅。咁同學仔就會先作答啦 ，AI 會俾咗 comment， 咁同學再 revise 完之後咧，再呈交俾老師去批改。咁我諗過程中其實都會見到同學仔喺一啲邏輯推論上咧嘅能力咧係明顯有 改變到，即係有改善到嘅。咁喺佢哋兩次嘅答案入面，亦都見得出個分別。好，咁或者都交俾 Miss Wong 講少少，我哋之後就做咗一個 focus group 嘅。
咁我哋咧完成咗正話3次 trial 之後啦，咁其實我哋就 conduct 咗一次咧 semi-structure 嘅 focus group，咁佢哋咧有份參與嘅同學咧就會一齊，咁我哋就訪問佢哋啦。咁大概喺6月嘅時候進行嘅。咁我哋 data analysis 咧就用咗 qualitative 裡面嘅一個 grounded theory 嘅 techniques 啦。就正如我哋正話所講啦，我哋覺得而家 AI 一個好新嘅趨勢啦，都冇乜一啲理論咧去到 support 緊呢個發展或者形容緊呢件事。咁但係咧透過同學佢哋作為即係佢哋其實係一個用家啦，我哋點樣喺佢哋嘅訪問裡面將一啲 theory 咧去提煉出嚟，去到呈現翻而家即係最新一個趨勢咁樣嘅。咁以下咧，我哋就會開始交俾同學咧去到分享佢哋嘅一啲睇法。
我覺得使用呢個 AI Bots 嘅好處係可以俾我哋免費獲取更加多額外嘅練習啦，同埋佢可以根據4個唔同嘅題源出題目啦。當你唔識點作答嘅時候咧，問佢攞一個答題嘅方向啦。當你做完嘅時候，你都可以俾佢批改啦，佢都會俾一啲佢嘅建議，再加埋一啲你冇諗過嘅作答思路啦，即係可以俾我知道，哦，原來呢啲題目我都可以咁嘅答啦，再加上而家 DSE 嘅題目出題方式越嚟越新穎啦，我哋做多啲唔同嘅題目，可以俾我哋更加好應對 DSE 嘅題目。
好啊，我喺用呢個 AI bot 嘅時候咧，我就寫咗一篇 essay 俾佢啦。咁佢都有做翻一啲建議同埋批改嘅。佢俾咗個示範我，入面都有好多課外嘅概念同字眼，咁我都可以即時問翻佢呢啲概念，咁我都可以學到啊。例如摩擦性失業啊，呢啲都係我哋中學課內咧係唔會教到嘅。我覺得佢係可以通過咁樣嘅方式嚟幫我銜接到大學經濟科嘅內容。另外，佢仲會俾多一篇邏輯十分之清晰嘅示範我，咁我就可以跟翻佢啦。例如我篇文有 miss 咗嘅，咁我就可以跟翻佢有一個具體嘅推論，令我個作答邏輯更加清晰。
咁透過我用呢個 AI bot 喺嘅經驗嚟講咧，我覺得佢可以提升我嘅嗰個發問嘅技巧啦。因為喺我用呢個 AI bot 嘅時候咧，我問佢關於一啲 econ 嘅問題嘅時候，佢會答咗一啲好比較概念性嘅答案俾我嘅。但係我可能會唔知道呢個點解啦。咁如果我去問我嘅 econ 老師嘅話咧，我個老師可以清楚咁同我解釋呢個係咩意思。即係我可能會直接啲同埋口語化啲咁問佢呢個點解，咁佢會明我講乜嘢嘛。但係如果用 AI 嘅話咧，佢係唔會明我講咩，所以我要去事先去了解呢個概念性嘅答案係咩嚟嘅先，所以我要去針對性去問呢個概念字係咩意思，所以我先可以去了解到其實佢想講緊啲乜嘢，從而提升我嗰個自主發問嘅技巧，即係增加我嗰個自主學習嘅效果。
而我認為咧，其實 AI 都有啲限制，因為咧，其實 AI 俾你嘅回答可能會有啲困惑，同埋仲會有啲額外課程內容。例如我哋去問 AI 一啲 DRQ 嘅問題，AI 可能會俾咗一啲特別嘅經濟字眼我哋，例如拉動作用同埋擠出效應。咁其實呢啲字眼係對中學生嚟講係比較陌生，或者甚至係冇見過。咁因為呢啲字眼都係大學程度嘅經濟字眼，咁其實中學生如果未見過嘅話，可能仲會錯誤咁樣使用。咁其實第二點就係，當然咧，學生咧係會從 AI 嗰邊攞答案嘅。咁其實呢個係 AI 嘅通病，因為其實從 AI 攞答案係真係好簡單，而對於一啲同學對於一啲經濟基本概念唔熟悉嘅話咧，反而就會依賴，因為佢哋會長期使用呢個 AI 去攞答案。咁其實最終係幫助唔到學生去學習，反而仲會害咗佢。
咁我哋作為一個使用呢個 AI bot 嚟講嘅話，其實都會覺得有啲限制啦。咁首先第一個限制咧，就係我哋會覺得佢嘅可信程度唔係咁高啊。因為其實我哋嘅老師啦，佢哋係會有考一啲嘅牌照啦，又或者係有一啲課程嘅認證啦。咁但係其實呢個 AI 咧，佢就冇即係冇俾大眾係普遍咁樣接受啦，又或者係社會上面有一啲嘅認證，所以其實佢嘅可信程度就唔係咁高啦。咁第二個限制咧，就係我哋會覺得佢哋係冇一個個人化嘅設定嘅，就係因為呢個 AI 咧，佢唔可以立即咧就住我哋有嘅弱點啊，去俾一啲特定嘅指示啊，又或者係解釋俾我哋啦。咁但係相反嚟講，如果我哋嘅老師佢係一直教我哋嘅，咁佢對我哋嘅理解都係比較多啦，認識比較多，咁佢可以就住我哋嘅弱點咧，咁就去有特定嘅解釋啊，又或者係一啲問題啊方法，令到我哋要清楚究竟要點樣做呢啲嘅題目啦。咁最後一個嘅限制咧，我哋就係會覺得佢係冇溫度。咁點解會覺得佢係冇溫度咧？就因為其實佢係冇聲音啦，佢亦都冇情緒啦，佢亦都冇表情。咁但係一啲嘅肢體動作啊，又或者係我哋講嘢嘅聲調啊，都好有助我哋理解一啲嘅題目啦。咁但係 AI 就反而做唔到呢一啲嘅地方啦。咁所以其實呢三個就係我哋會覺得呢個 AI bot 可能會有嘅限制。
好，咁都聽完同學嘅分享啦。咁其實見到佢哋喺過程入面咧，即係體驗咗 AI 幾次之後咧，其實都有唔同嘅一啲論點嘅。即係無論係一啲幫助到佢哋嘅又好啦，或者係本身對 AI 有啲懷疑啦，甚至乎係覺得 AI 幫唔到佢哋嘅地方都會有嘅。咁而對於老師嚟講啦，咁 AI 當然就可以成為一個教學輔助嘅工具啦。咁我諗照顧學習差異上，其實呢個幫助好大嘅。咁 AI 我哋可以即係根據同學嘅程度啦，出翻唔同深淺程度嘅題目啦，亦都可以就住同學咧唔同嘅需要咧，去俾翻唔同嘅 feedback 嘅。可能能力相對冇咁強嘅同學，我哋先處理咗啲論點建構上嘅先。咁去到一啲能力比較強嘅同學咧，我哋可能再深入啲去處理佢推論嘅完整程度啦。我哋再處理佢一啲表達結構啊，甚至乎係一啲課外嘅概念咧。咁 AI 其實可以分層次去處理得到嘅。咁另外當然 AI 亦都好幫得手啦，即係可以幫我哋出到一啲嘅題目咁樣。咁不過其實對於老師嚟講咧，即係用咗 AI 就唔等於即係 workload 細咗嘅。咁其實用 AI 之後咧，其實有部分嘅 workload 都會大咗嘅。咁亦都老實説，例如用 AI 啦，其實我哋要 keep 住 update 住個 bots 啦。咁我哋咧其實亦都會咧需要咧多啲時間咧去判斷同學嗰個學習嘅痛點或者個難點喺邊度。咁好似啱啱同學所講啦，其實有啲同學可能真係會照抄 AI 嘅答案嘅。咁啊，可能佢哋會以為老師睇唔到啦。咁其實就住即係可能作文嚟講咧，可能都比較容易睇得到。咁但係其實係一啲人文學科講邏輯推理咧，確實比較難睇得到嘅。如果佢用一啲課程以內嘅文字咧，其實我哋大約啲用字都係差唔多。咁有機會我哋比較難判斷得到。咁不過當然老師亦都有其他嘅判斷方法啦，可能有一啲平時嘅 quiz 啊，平時課堂嘅互動啊咁樣。咁其實我哋都會睇得到嘅。咁純粹呢一個位會有一啲 extra cost 咁樣樣。咁另外其實老師亦都即係需要咧去 mon 住咧嗰個 AI bot 嘅運作嘅。咁我哋其實係有咧呼籲同學啦，即係用完個 AI bot 嘅時候咧，用 POE send 翻條 link 俾老師咧望一望入面嗰個對答嘅。咁我諗主要就係確保同學其實有善用到個 AI 啦。咁亦都其實係睇翻 AI 嘅作答係咪真係回應到同學嘅需要咯。咁所以呢一個其實都係一個老師 keep 住會處理嘅部分嚟嘅。咁另外啱啱同學講到欠缺溫度啦，咁我哋喺做 focus group 嘅時候咧，其實都有問過同學啊，其實 AI 好啲定老師好啲咧？咁當然老師喺度，大家就話老師好啲啦，係咪？咁但係去到後面再問多少少啦，啊，如果 AI bots 嚟緊係用一個機械人嘅形式出現，識講嘢，然後又用老師把聲，即時又回應到，又有啲溫度，有啲感情喎，咁其實你哋會揀邊一個咧？咁其實都有啲同學開始有啲動搖嘅。咁所以我諗確實地對於老師嚟講，呢個 substitution effect 咧係一個謎嚟嘅，即係到底過多幾年 AI 嘅發展會唔會令到我哋都擔心被取代咧？咁究竟我哋個價值喺邊度咧？咁我諗長遠嚟講都係老師自我價值啦，一個專業形象自己去尋找發掘嘅一個過程嚟嘅。係啦，咁嚟緊咧都會講少少，今次我哋研究亦都會有啲限制啦，同埋亦都希望咧嚟緊會有一啲其他嘅發展嘅方向嘅。咁當然啦，我哋作為一間學校啦，其實一班只係得10幾個同學仔，個 sample size 都比較細啲嘅。咁所以即係雖然我哋有做過一個 SDL 嘅 scale 啦，去睇翻咧嗰個學習嘅情況同埋嗰個self-directed learning 嘅關係。咁但係咧亦都唔敢講話啊，係咪真係間間學校都通用咧咁？咁所以都希望嚟緊啦，如果有機會嘅話，即係在座各位睇下，我哋會唔會都有啲機會合作一下？ 下，咁希望可以睇下嚟緊將即係人文學科用 AI 嘅呢一個範圍咧，可以擴展開去。咁我哋又一齊睇下嗰個功能會唔會可以做得到。係啦，咁另外因為時間限制上啦，其實我哋都只係做咗2個月，咁其實同學仔用 AI 交嘅 assignment 都唔算太多嘅，咁所以嚟緊我哋自己校內咧都會繼續用呢一個 model 啦，咁希望俾更加多即係修讀經濟科嘅同學仔去使用嘅。係啦，咁而我哋其實嚟緊咧都會 keep 住咧係 trial and error 啦。咁同學仔會不停用嘅時候咧，老師最緊要嘅角色咧，其實真係要 monitor 翻咧同學仔嗰個使用嘅情況嘅。咁我諗我哋話資訊素養media literacy 啦，咁都講咗好耐啦。咁但係其實同學仔或者甚至乎係即係佢哋用完咁，梗係同你講我冇抄答案啦，或者係其實即係佢哋會點樣問 AI 問題咧？咁呢啲位我哋都可以長遠檢視翻，咁亦都令到同學仔咧呢方面嘅能力咧會得以即係增強翻咁樣嘅。咁另外老師亦都可以即係隨時咁 revise 個 prompt 啦，亦都去擺翻啲新嘅 resources 落去，令到呢個 AI 咧都可以跟翻咧成個課程嘅發展嘅最新動向咁樣。係啦，咁另外啦，喺我哋校內咧，亦都開始做緊一啲知識轉移同埋經驗轉移嘅工作嘅。咁我諗 PSHE 嘅學科啦，其實喺中學都有好多。咁我哋學校咧係所有 PSHE 嘅選修科都有開到嘅。咁所以其實我哋都會喺即係組入面會做一啲分享啦。咁亦都希望即係將呢一個 AI 去處理即係呢一類 essay type questions 嘅經驗咧，分享翻俾其他人文學科去處理嘅。咁其實係啦，即係我哋都見到大部分人文學科都有呢一類嘅題目咯。咁所以我諗即係在座各位如果有教人文學科嘅話咧，其實都有機會咧，可以試下用 AI 咧，睇下會唔會可以提升到學生咧嗰一個自主學習嘅能力嘅。係啦，咁另外啦，我哋見到咧，即係其實喺商界好多 AI model 咧，都係處理中英文作文。咁人文學科嘅作文同中英文作文都有啲相似嘅地方嘅，我哋都會處理啲邏輯嘅部分。咁但係可能一啲概念字眼上咧就比較少啲。咁所以都睇下嚟緊商界會唔會都有機會啦，即係將佢哋現有嘅一啲經驗融入去人文學科入面，再做多一啲嘅發展。係啦，咁最後即係我哋面對一個比較大嘅困難，其實都係啲 copyright 嘅 issue 啊，因為我哋冇乜資源可以俾到 AI 啦，咁所以都期望官方或者出版社等等咧，會有多啲資源咧，可以提供到俾我哋咧，去即係一齊去為同學仔嘅 self-directed learning 咧去建構嘅。係啦，咁呢度就係我哋嘅 reference list 啦，咁都多謝大家去聽我哋嘅分享，咁睇下大家會唔會有問題想問咁。
唔該晒。
Thank you。
而家我 hand it over to Bianca to moderate.
Any questions?
點樣考慮揀用邊個 model 啦？同埋你乎同學仔頭先有一啲嘅 feedback 咁樣啦，咁你會係呢啲 feedback 你會係再點樣去 modify 嗰個 bot 咁樣嘅？係啦，
好多謝你嘅問題啊！咁咧都先講嗰個選擇啦。我哋暫時用咗 ChatGPT 4O 嘅，咁我哋4O Mini 嚟嘅。咁呢個選擇係衡量翻佢嗰個 update 嘅程度啦，同埋嗰個每日用嘅 quota。因為我哋都有試過用唔同嘅 model，咁有啲最 advanced 嘅 model 咧，可能問完條問題就已經用晒一日嘅 quota。咁其實即係對於我哋嚟講，其實即係同學仔未必負擔得到啦。我哋老師自己用，我哋都要自己俾錢啦咁樣。咁所以我哋都衡量過呢兩方面咧，去選擇咗個 model 嘅。咁暫時用4O Mini 係處理得到，即係呢一個文字量同埋嗰個邏輯嘅推論係處理得到嘅。係啦，咁至於啱啱第二個問題應該係提及個 feedback 度係啦，咁其實咧因為 POE 有一個好處咧，佢可以將成個 conversation archive 咗，跟住將條 link 去 send 俾老師嘅。咁老師可以 import 嗰個 chat 啦，然後繼續翻嗰個對話。咁老師就會直接將我對學生嘅 comment 咧打埋俾個 AI 睇。老師的評改如下咁樣樣。咁 AI 咧就會參考翻老師嘅評改咧，然後佢就會同你講，哦，原來可以咁樣去處理嘅咁樣。咁佢下一次會咁樣去批改。咁所以呢個都係一個老師同 AI 之間嘅互動咯。咁希望即係喺呢一個對話嘅過程，令到 AI 都知道批改係即係需要係咁樣去處理嘅咁樣。係啊，多謝你嘅問題。
你好啊，我都係中學老師啦，不過我教理科嘅其實，咁但係咧我都聽到你哋想推廣落去其他科使用啊嘛，但係我就係想問個 quota 嘅問題啦，因為我自己都有試呢一個位置咧，其實真係開始啲學生如果一科用嗰陣時候，就可能未有問題，但係當科科都用嗰陣時，個個都 POE 嗰陣時候，咁究竟呢個點樣分呢啲資源？即係我哋老師就自己揞啲錢買嘅，咁但係學生又未必 effort 到咁樣，係啊。咁其實我呢個問題個個都會面對到㗎啦。其實我就 propose 咧，咦會唔會你有一個咁好嘅數據或者 support 支持，或者有啲教育局嘅，如果啲同事喺度啊，或者即係商家嗰啲會唔會有啲教育嘅優惠咁樣啦？有啲 package 咁樣咧嚇，都希望可能貴校可以做到呢個影響力咯。好，唔該晒。
多謝，我哋都想咁樣。咁暫時目前為止，我哋都係靠 bid 啲 funding 翻嚟，即係可能睇下有冇機會可以即係資助到，但係其實都唔係好長遠，所以都你嘅意見好好，多謝。
你好，我都想問下，因為我都係教 econ 嘅，係啦，咁我都想問下咧，即係因為我見都係即係個 boat 係佢會自己出題目噶嘛，咁其實佢都會 call 到嗰啲 source 啦，咁其實喺嗰啲可能你 check 過嗰啲 boat 出嘅問題或者佢 call 嗰啲 source 咧，其實有冇一個好大嘅嗰個即係錯誤嘅問題啦，同埋即係究竟佢出題嘅嗰個其實嗰個質素係如何嘅咧？即係會唔會其實好奇怪嘅？啲同學做完之後，反而可能會更加激 confuse 咧咁樣，係啦。
我都可以分享少少個心路歷程啊，因為我哋第一次咧其實都唔係好識點樣 set 個 board 嘅，咁我哋就咁寫咗堆 prompts 咁樣試咗一次，咁其實出啲題目都好奇怪嘅，佢話香港係有奶茶稅嘅。係啦，咁吹到好大，咁但係其實香港冇嘅，咁所以其實就要不停俾指令佢咯，即係例如你唔可以作一啲假嘅資料啦，你唔可以作一啲虛構嘅嘢啦，咁之後佢係有改進到嘅，咁你見到其實佢依家出嗰啲題目咧係相對冇乜時間性嘅，即係佢唔會出啲好 update 嘅嘢。因為確實AI 嘅 model 有一個時間限制喺度，咁呢一個模型應該去到2023年嘅，即係佢個 database，咁所以我都同佢講咗，你可以揀一啲冇乜咁長時間性嘅嘢，係啦，咁主要就即係啦，會係咁樣去處理咯。咁個題目上其實因為我哋都 input 咗好多份我哋校內嘅考試卷入去嘅，咁input 之前嘅質素係奇差嘅，係完全唔係 DSE 會見到嘅題目啦，用字全部都唔係，咁都係經過咗即係 input 好多嘅 resources 俾佢啦，不停俾 feedback 佢，教佢點樣出一條題目咧，咁然後先出到依家呢一個效果咯。咁所以當然你見到依家嘅用字可能都未必係好準確嘅，即係例如環境的負面影響，咁可能喺 econ 我哋會傾向用界外影響 externalities 呢一類嘅字眼，咁所以佢其實都係要持續地改進嘅。咁所以係啦，即係今次個 model 只係用咗2個月就大約呢個效果咯。咁老師係會需要持續地 monitor， 持續地修訂佢，持續地為佢更加多嘅一啲 resources 咯。咁希望佢會有即係持續嘅改善咁樣嘅。
多謝。So now, thank you so much for your presentation. Now, good day, everyone, and welcome back to room Z208. So the next presentation is titled Harnessing the Power of AI in Peer-Assisted Language Learning. And it was presented by Dr. Cissy Lee, Miss Louisa Wong, and Miss Yongshi Lee. Over to you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for coming to this session. Today, we're going to share with you a program that we've been providing to our students and on peer tutoring, and to align with the theme of this conference and or symposium. And so we managed to collect some data on AI use in peer tutoring programs. So we're going to share with you some results on that. So just before I move on, may I know whether anybody has similar programs in your university or in your school, like a peer tutoring? No? All right. Okay. Now, hopefully that you will hear something useful, and you may think of starting something similar. Oops, doesn't work. Sorry.
No,
No?
It's not from here. Don't worry.
Maybe I just use the mouse. Try again. Okay, great. Thanks. Okay, here's our overview. So first, and I'll just briefly mention the theoretical foundations that we have for this program. We call it a student tutor writing consultation program. I'll tell you later where the name is from. And then we're going to share with you some evidence on the impact of this program on students' academic performance. And then my colleague Louisa is going to particularly focus on the students' feedback on the use of AI during the tutoring consultation process. And then finally, we attempt to conceptualize the relationship between AI and the tutor and tutee in the consultation process. And then finally, we, to help our tutors to make good use of AI, we attempted to introduce a framework
or guidelines for our peer tutors in the consultation process. Okay, first, some theoretical foundations for this program. I think that it was almost no exception that all peer tutoring programs draw largely on Vygotsky's constructive theory of learning, which accounts, for the cognitive growth or learning in the social cultural context, which involves problem-solving activities and under the guidance of expert or more capable peers. And in Vygotsky's term is a zone of proximal development. And plenty of research found substantial benefit for both faculties and also students in this learning community when they adopt peer tutoring. And and review studies also found that peer tutoring has a positive impact on participants' academic achievement. More recent study, a meta-analysis of experimental studies actually indicates also a positive impact of tutoring, particularly on L2 writing performance. However, as Learn points out, that some studies actually adopt a reciprocal peer tutoring where we cannot really differentiate the achievement of our tutors and the tutees. And so that's what we're going to focus. We're going to focus on particularly the impact on tutees' academic performance. Okay, so some data on the impact of our program. Now, give you a little bit of history of our program. Actually, we introduced a peer tutoring almost 10 years ago, since 2015, in a smaller scale, much smaller scale. And then with the funding support of the University Grant Committee, UGC, and we're able to expand the service, and it became an interinstitutional project with Hong Kong U being the lead university and also City U being a partner university. And perhaps now we are the only university which still has this name from the project as the name of our service. We call it a Student Tutor Writing Consultation Program, SWCP. Okay, with the funding support, we're able to strengthen our program. For example, we were able to strengthen the screening process when we hire our tutors. By hire, I mean we pay a little and really little money, just student helper rate for student service, just as a little bit of incentive. But then at the same time, we encourage the student to participate because we tell them, you teach and you learn better by teaching other people. And there are a lot of research evidence which shows so. So, it turned out students are very enthusiastic in joining the program. But anyway, the process is we invite voluntary applicants to join our service. They apply to the program by writing to us, and then they have to. We're going to just have like initial screening. We're going to we invite them to pass our online test, and then successful applicants will be invited to an interview, so to assess their suitability to serve as a tutor on our program. Okay, and then tutees are also again voluntarily participate in our program. So here in this presentation, we're going to just share with you some data from last academic year. So you can see that in each semester we have over 200 students who join our service and use our service to improve their academic work. Now, over 95% of our tutees are first-year students. This is not too surprising because they just entered the university. We're from Hong Kong Baptist University, and it's not the best university in town, and we don't have the best students, and so many students are struggling. We're talking about DSE 3 students, So we offer these 2 language courses, University English 1 and English 2, and then I think it's easier for us to identify, who are, which students are probably in need of extra help outside the class. And another reason just to try to promote this service to our own students is it's also easier for us to collect the data, especially on students' academic performance. Okay, but then even so, and then the participation of our students is entirely voluntary. You know, the participation in the program is entirely voluntary. Now, some data on the impact of the program, and the data is from last year. And you can see now we're talking about the same students taking the same courses in the same year, and you can see that you know, the green bar is like two Ts who actually use the service, and the rest of the students who are on the same course and doing the same assignment. And you can see that two Ts actually outperform the non-two Ts, and you know, from this data, and this, you know, this is very consistent. It's not just in this academic year, and then, you know, ever since the service was provided, and two Ts actually always perform better. I mean, I'm talking about like a statistically, you know, significant better, statistically significantly better, really. Right. Okay. And these are the two semesters. So these are the two this is the assignments. Now, for this conference, we're managed to catch the last assignment. So basically, when we ask students questions about the AI use in the consultation process, they are referring to the last assignment. Now, particularly on AI, and now students reported, you know, only 11 students, two Ts reported the use of AI, and more than 90% of the students actually reported no use of AI. How truthful it is, we don't know, but then that's the it's still possible. The reason is some students do refrain from using AI if they really genuinely want to improve. And then, of course, there are students who just completely rely on AI, but then we can only, you know, sort of investigate based on what we collect really from the students. And, okay, but then even so, and you can see the students who reported the use of AI and still outperformed the students actually who didn't report or reported no use of AI. Right. Okay. So so there is a gap here in the literature. There are a few studies that actually systematically investigate the AI use in peer writing programs in tertiary settings. Even in secondary settings, I haven't seen much. And then there is also guidelines with regard to AI use for peer tutors as well. Students don't know how much we should use AI to help their tutees to improve their academic writing. So, so in this talk, and we attempted to define the roles, and based on the data we collect, define the roles of AI and also peer tutors in this peer writing program. And we also attempted to propose some preliminary guidelines for AI use in peer tutoring. Right. Okay. I'm going to pass the time to my colleague Louisa to share with you some data on AI use in peer tutoring.
Thank you, Cissy. So now I'm going to talk about part 3 and 4, which mainly focuses on AI use in the peer tutoring program. So part 3 is about feedback on the use of AI from peer tutors and tutees. So this is a quantitative data. And we just distributed questionnaire surveys to peer writing tutors and tutees in the second semester of 2024 and 2025. Basically, we asked tutors and tutees 2 questions. How do you think peer tutors and AI can help with your writing skills respectively? So those are the 2 questions we asked tutors and tutees. So I would like to ask you a question. So to your mind, which aspect of writing do you think AI really excel in? Or which aspect do you think AI really excel in writing or helping students writing? Yes? Start? Yeah. By starting the writing, you mean generating ideas, right? Yeah, exactly. So most people do think that AI is a great starter partner to help generating new ideas. And also for some students who are less proficient In terms of language, they use AI to check grammars and also to raise the grammatical accuracy. That's basically the general perception. And well, let's take a look of how our tutors and tutees look at it. So basically, we collect the responses, classify them into different categories or writing areas, and then we count them and count the percentage. So this is it. So the blue one is what tutors think how AI can help in these areas. We calculate the percentage, and the orange one is how tutors think AI can help. So for the more micro level mechanical skills of writing, it seems that a higher percentage of tutors think that AI can really help with the writing, especially for vocabulary, is much higher than the percentage of tutees' opinion, and also for grammatical accuracy. So referencing skills, citations, and sentence structure are pretty close. So now let's go to the macro level and more discursive level skills. And we realize that tutees' perception is a little bit different from the general public and the tutors, because a higher percentage of tutees think that AI can actually help with the overall structure of the writing and also coherence and cohesion, even more so than tutors think so. So this is quite interesting. And one thing which is worth noting, or you may query, is why? Because people think AI is great in summarizing articles and paraphrasing. But why both tutors and tutees are quite consistent in thinking, well, summarizing and paraphrasing is not really very helpful for them with the writing, or AI cannot really help them much. It's because, as introduced by Dr. Cissy, our majority of our tutees come from UE1 and UE2, and our course policies strictly forbid students to use AI content in any part of their writing. So I guess that may have an impact on the responses on this, but we are glad that they both reach a consensus, then they have an awareness that they cannot use AI content in any part of their writing. So now let's come to the focus on more on the tutees' perception, because we are serving them for the service. So here is tutees' perception of AI and tutors' role in the consultation. This is the focus. And again, for more micro or mechanical level stuff, we can see that tutees think that AI really outperform a human tutor in terms of grammatical accuracy and vocabulary. All right. And for sentence structure and referencing skills, it's pretty close. And for the areas which tutees think a human tutor outperform AI is those more macro level structure skills like organization and structure, and developing arguments, which is more idea based. So we asked the tutees why in more later questions. They said because the tutors will discuss and negotiate meaning with them and challenge them and ask them probing questions. That's why they think a human being is there to really help them to develop and analyze ideas, but which AI tools cannot. So they value this part. And so this is the part that tutees do think a human tutor is more valuable or helpful than AI in helping them. So overall structure, developing arguments and coherence and cohesion. Again, we mentioned course policies impact on summarizing and paraphrasing skills. That's why they don't think AI can help this area a lot. So this is about it. And let's have a brief summary of some pedagogical insights based on the more discursive skills. Peer tutors' strength lies in giving them customized personal advice on a more macro and discursive levels through in-depth discussion and interaction with the tutees, where they really negotiate the meaning with the tutees and work on the writing's overall structure, arguments, and logical development collaboratively. So as for the more mechanical level, AI can provide feedback on tutees' language mechanics, such as vocab, grammar, transitional devices, and sentence structure, and with the important addition of brainstormings and summarizing. So having said that, tutors always emphasize to tutees that well, even you have AI's assistance, you need to heavily adapt AI output, be critical, and find your own voice and writing style in your writing. So AI is not the end point for generating an essay for submission. So we still need upgrading, expansion, and heavy adaptation. Now, let's come to the qualitative feedback from tutors and tutees. This time, we focus on how they actually integrate AI use in the tutoring process. So again, we use the same research instrument, that is the questionnaire surveys to both tutors and tutees in the same time. Basically, we ask, did you use AI tools or AI-generated materials in the consultation? If yes, how did you use it? So here are the responses from both tutors and tutees. Basically, there are 6 areas. Okay, so here are the tutors and tutees quotes or voices. So both tutors and tutees think AI helped them generate ideas as a starter and develop arguments. And tutors think, apart from generating main points or new ideas, it also helps tutees to generate new ideas and help them think more creatively. And if you give in prompts that give me something that is not generic or hackneyed, they will provide some quite innovative ideas and give them some more varied styles of writing. So tutees also think similarly. And for the most popular use of AI, that is fine-tuning language or help them with the citations. So both tutors and tutees think that AI can do a decent job in correcting grammatical mistakes, find a better vocabulary or synonyms, and helping with the reference list. But having said that, they both have different focus in mind. For tutors, because if they can outsource the grammar check routine task to AI, then they can focus more of their time and energy during consultation to focus on higher level skills or more macro skills to debate ideas and negotiate meaning. So, and one thing that tutees a majority of tutees responded is how AI can really help during the tutoring process with researching articles and helping them to read the articles, especially very difficult research articles. It summarizes it very quickly and it helps their understanding in a very short period of time. And before the actual consultation, actually, tutors and tutees also made use of AIs to generate some preliminary materials to enrich the discussion. So for tutors, if the tutees submitted the draft writing in advance, they will try to submit the draft to AI tools and ask them to analyze grammar, citation structure, and generate a diagnostic report. So the tutors would then look at the report and then refine it and take it as a reference. So during the consultation, they can further develop and enrich the report and also give comments on higher levels issues like argument development during consultations. So they never use the diagnostic report directly, but they enrich and expand upon it or modified it. And for tutees, sometimes they will ask AIs to come up with some very brief outlines of their essays. And also they try to ask the AI to summarize something, and then they try to write it again and revise it. So the other 2 aspects are quite interesting because actually it belongs more to the use of AI or value. After the use of AI in the writing, tutors observe that tutees become more confident of their writing, especially in the grammar aspect, and also they feel more interested and motivated because it eases the process, becomes more efficient. As for tutees, they also think it helps a lot and they can write better assignments because it gives them some ideas so that they can follow. So pretty similar. So for after the consultation, they also have follow-up by using AI tools. And that is quite interesting and inform us for future improvement of the program. Because tutors said after the consultation, they will analyze the common writing issues or consultation needs of different tutees and find common patterns and trends to identify common challenges so that they can improve their future tutoring. As for tutees, they can also generate a very personalized summary of the takeaways of the consultation and the suggestions made by tutors. And also, tutors can make use of tutors' comments during the consultation and generate a very personalized revision checklist for the writing by AI. So this is after consultation, they can still use AI to upgrade or enrich the content. So now, after drawing the feedback from tutors and tutees, we try to explore, is there any ways to integrate AI systematically into the peer writing program? So we try to introduce two very preliminary tentative models. One is a conceptual model and the other is a more operational one. So here is the theoretical underpinnings of a conceptual model. First, researchers, Professor David Carlos, find out that if tutees just engage with one-off feedback, it can only bring about very short-term behavioral changes restricted to the tasks and assessments. So that's why Argyles and Booth, in their seminal research, they propose if you engage students long-term in a feedback spiral, that is repeated feedback and modification, so it can promote higher order cognitive skills like evaluation, critical thinking, etc. So, and secondly, Sadler proposed that feedback delivered in a didactic mode, that means like teachers talk, is not really sufficient to promote complex learning in the long term. So that's why the peer writing program has always adopted a social constructivist approach by sharing and shared individual interpretations of feedback. They are developed through dialogue, sense making, and co-construction between tutors and tutees. So one recent study by Guo and al., they propose an AI-supported approach to asynchronous peer feedback in EFL writing. And it seems like currently there is a lack of conceptual model of AI tutor collaborative feedback in a synchronous mode. So we try to promote something preliminary, which is like this. So this is a continuous feedback loop. So there are three parties altogether. First is AI and tutor. So it's bigger because it's kind of play a bigger role for the tutor. Yeah. Yes, this diagram. So this is, so the tutee, maybe at first the tutee will submit or bring about their course requirement feedback and also course requirement rubrics and also essay topic to the AI to generate some and brainstorm some preliminary ideas. And then they may bring the essay topic and grading rubrics of the writing assessments to the tutor. So the tutor will give them some experience and expand upon the very rough ideas generated by AI so that tutors may have a more targeted and focused ideas of their assignment. So this is not the end. So the tutors, again, they will have that more focused and targeted direction and idea in mind of the assignment, and then they will all submit it again to AI. And then AI may generate more focused and assignment or discipline relevant ideas. So the tutors will then maybe also generate an outline for the writing by the AI. So the tutors at this point will start writing. And then next, the tutor, after writing a preliminary draft, he or she may also submit the draft to AI for a very preliminary diagnostic report. So after that, for the AI will generate a preliminary comment or report, and the tutor will go to the tutor together with the report and also the draft writing, and the tutor will co-construct and negotiate meaning with the tutor. So this goes on, and then after having the comments, tutors will revise their writing again, and then give it to AI for more comments, and then bring about the comments and the revised writing to the tutor again, and then they will have maybe more co-constructed meaning by with the overall structure and ideas and coherence. As said in the quantitative data, AI is kind of excels in brainstorming ideas and giving grammatical advice, and tutors excels in co-constructing meaning and also working on overall structure and ideas and coherence. So this goes on, and sometimes tutor will also seek AI help by generating some practices, exercises, or sample writing to the tutees, where tutees can use in the tutoring process. So this is basically a feedback loop in an iterative and cyclical loop. And at the end of the day, through the feedback spiral, there is the high quality or better quality final draft of the writing. So yes, okay, I just finished this. Okay, and to operationalize this conceptual model, we try to give our ATA framework for peer tutors as a kind of preliminary guidelines. So basically, we divide the tutoring process into 3 stages: pre-consultation, during consultation, and post-consultation, and we call it ATA. So A stands for AI, T stands for peer tutors and tutees, and the last A also stands for AI. Pre-consultation, AI will generate very preliminary output for the consultation use. And then during consultation, peer tutors and tutees basically co-construct meaning together and then make a meaningful use of the time. And post-consultation, AI will generate key takeaways, major challenges, and keep tracks of the progress. And so these are the details of how the ATA framework works. And maybe I won't go into details about this ATA framework. And from the ATA framework, it casts some pedagogical insights, and at the same time, it set boundaries for tutors. So a word of caution, tutees often come to seek help or come to the consultation with the expectation of having a human being to offer some personalized comments for them. So tutors should refrain from becoming a hollow middleman for automated responses. So if so, then why don't the tutees go directly to seek AI help themselves? So that's why tutors, we strongly encourage our tutors to limit the use of AI during pre-consultation preparation and post-consultation follow-up, so that they can focus more of their time and energy for personalized, discipline-specific human feedback and engage in a genuine dialogue with the tutees. And after all, because that is the unique value of our peer tutoring program. Our consultation is a human-to-human dialogue for intellectual exchange, and the essence of the program is, after all, is real people helping real people grow as writers. So I think that's more or less, and yeah, thank you very much. And this is our reference list, and any questions?
Thank you so much for your interesting talk. I think we have time for one question. If the next presenter is here, kindly come forward and, put your PPT or PPT. Any question? Yes.
Be qualified to be tutors. How can students be qualified to be tutors? Cissy mentioned a test the potential tutors have to take. So is it about writing proficiency in addition to AI literacy?
No, and when we recruited students, we don't particularly focus on AI literacy. Rather, we look at their professional skills. For example, when we did the written test, and we want the students to be able to identify issues with a piece of academic writing. And then, the focus of the interview is more about whether this person has that, nice personality that, is conducive to a very, healthy kind of tutoring experience. Yeah, that's the main focus. Thanks.
I think the next presenters are not here. So if you have more questions, you can ask.
So it's really interesting that tutors and tutees didn't think AI can summarize. So in your analysis, you said that's because of our policy towards AI use. But my experience working with students whose AI percentage is high, I found that one common phenomenon is these students over rely on AI. So sometimes they reference a real source that exists but does not provide any relevant information to their essay topic due to the suggestions made by AI. And sometimes they would reference a source that actually exists and is relevant to the topic they're writing, but does not mention the specific example or evidence they're citing from the source. So based on these cases of over-reliance on AI in the process of writing the essay, I'm thinking maybe AI literacy is something that we need to consider in the tutor-tutee and AI interaction to prevent this. And I also think that if students and tutors do not trust the summary generated by AI, that may be a good thing. Based on some of these cases I have seen. Yeah, it's not actually a question, just an observation. Yeah, thank you.
I have one question. I want to, can you clarify if the number of tutees that participated in the first semester, were they the same students that also participated in the second semester? Or is it tutee first semester, then non-tutee second semester? Okay.
Than others, sorry. Yeah. Some students who think that okay, I just need to know whether I'm going to the right direction in this assignment, and then they may just consult the tutor only once. But the other students who are extremely motivated, and then they really want to get an A grade, and then they come here, like up to 9 times, and really, to work to the perfection. Really, yeah. Thanks.
And lastly from me, since we have some time, if you want, probably you can shed more light on the second objective, which is what are these preliminary guidelines that you proposed for the use of AI use in yeah, if you want, you can just probably shed more light since you didn't have time to talk about it.
Because from the experience of tutors and tutees and from the questionnaire results, we can generalize some ways that they find more effective, but this is just suggested. So in the pre-consultation, that is the first A of the ATA framework. So it's like AI reliance, they generate preliminary output for the consultation use, such as a diagnostic report on the tutee's draft writing or brainstorming key ideas or key points if they haven't had a writing yet. And maybe the tutees will generate from the course requirements and also essay topic some very, very brief and general key points from brainstorming from AI. So this pre-consultation stage is the first A, so the AI use. So during the consultation, the tutees will bring about maybe the comments of AI on their writing or some preliminary brainstorming ideas which are really general to the tutors if they haven't had the writing started. Then tutors will look at the diagnostic report and also the writing and just for reference, and then they will upgrade the diagnostic report and enrich the report or critically evaluate it to provide more personalized feedback. And also they may ask tutees questions and challenge them. For example, tutors like to ask, why do you include this claim in the writing? Do you have any evidence to back it up? Seems like AI didn't do a very good job of like explaining or justifying your claim. or some examples that are not really relevant or very general provided by AI. So tutors will ask tutees such questions so that tutees can critically look at the generated output by AI. Does it really work? And can I rely on it and just submit it to my course teachers or lecturers for the grade? So they will co-create meaning together and upgrade the content or the tutee's draft. So in the T stage, the ATA framework, the T is the tutor and tutees oriented. They co-create meaning together, engage in real-time communication and dialogue, which is the more valuable part. And for the last A is after the consultation, the tutoring process, they will have some follow-up. So for tutees, maybe they can generate very systematic issues in the writing and keep track of their own progress by AI, or they can summarize what are the advice that the tutors give during the consultation by AI. And from these takeaways, they can generate personalized revision checklist that is specific to the list so that they can revise their draft according to this. For AI, for tutors, maybe from their tutoring point of view, they can summarize common writing issues encountered by different tutees in the tutoring process to inform their tutoring skills and keep track of their tutoring. So this is ATA format, and it also set the boundaries and emphasizing on real-time humanistic dialogue between tutors and tutees during the consultation process. So that is a kind of rough guideline and is suggested from the experience of our previous tutors and tutees.
Thank you so much. In absence of any other question, can we give them a round of applause, please? So the next presentation, the next presenters are not here. The next presentation will take place at 3 p.m. While you go to other places or you wait, let me remind us to complete the survey on the back of our card. Thank you and see you again at 3 p.m. Welcome back to the last presentation before the coffee break. This presentation is titled Teaching the Pros and Cons to AI Translation, a report on comparing human versus AI translation in the classroom, and it will be presented by Professor Haruko Miyakoda.
Thank you very much. My name is Haruko Miyakoda, and I come from Tokyo. Okay, 25, okay. Today, I'll be talking mainly not the pros, but the cons to AI translation, probably because due to the time limitation. And first of all, before going into the main idea, I'd like to give you some background information on why I took interest in this study. Strangely enough, or surprisingly for most of you, in Japan, most of the university's policy at present is the use of GenAI is prohibited unless being told otherwise. And I think this is a completely different presupposition from most of you. And for the freshman seminars, each year we have to introduce this policy to the students. Several years ago, one of the students came up to me with the following question: why are dictionaries allowed but not GenAI? Basically, they seem to be the same because a dictionary gives us the translated version of a word. And GenAI does so too, but it's a longer level, so it's chunks. So why is a word translation okay, but why is my Japanese not allowed to be translated into English using a translation software or GenAI? And frankly speaking, I couldn't come up with a convincing answer to this question. Where is the boundary where you are not allowed to use a tool and where you are allowed to use a tool? So there's a very fuzzy boundary around here, and I personally was not able to answer this question. So that made me come to this question myself. Why is Gen I prohibited in the first place? We, of course, since being the older generation, I have this good sense that something is wrong if you put all your, for example, thesis sentences generated by Gen I. That's completely wrong. But at the same time, if you're in the younger generation, it isn't really unnatural to come up with this question, because dictionaries serve the same function. They give you the word's meaning and how it's used. And in that sense, what is the difference? That's background number one. Background number two, in the freshman seminar, we have to teach them translation at some point. And we have to let the students know that translation is not just about getting the meaning of the original text. There's more humanness involved here. And of course, there are many factors involved in humanness. But just to give you one simple example, a good translator will take into consideration the social linguistic factors involved when translating. To give you a very simple example, some of you may know this classic riddle. I'll read it out loud anyway. A father and his son are in a terrible car accident. The father dies at the scene and the son is rushed to the hospital in critical condition. The surgeon enters the operating room, sees the boy and says, "I can't operate on this boy. He's my son." How is this possible? Now, this is a very classic riddle. If you can come immediately with the correct answer, I think you are in a very privileged situation. This is a classic riddle that plays on common assumptions about gender roles. The twist is that the surgeon is the son's mother, but many people initially assume that the surgeon must be male, which creates confusion because the father passed away at the scene, but there's no reason the surgeon can't be his mother. So even in translating such a simple context, you have to be careful of the highlighted area, the conversation part. I can't operate on this boy. He's my son. The point is, if it's the mother that's talking to this, that's talking here. So there's this mother aspect. But at the same time, if people know that it's a female talking, then you give away the twist. So a twist won't become a twist. So a simple translation task such as this riddle makes people think deeply on what words to choose and how to express this one sentence, even this one sentence, and translate it into a different language. This, I won't go into detail, but this is an example of how a Japanese translation might go. You want to be neutral enough so that it doesn't give away that it's a woman that is talking, but at the same time, you have to make sure that it's intimate enough because it's a parent-child relation. This type of simple translation, you might be wondering, I mean, why deal with such simple tasks? I mean, Gen I is for more sophisticated activities. I mean, we talk about programming, self-educating programs, and we have lots of sophisticated ways to use Gen I. But why do we have to focus on simple tasks? Well, although Gen I is a smart and convenient tool, we also need to understand its limitations. And throughout this summit also, we've had lots of great presentations telling us about the limitations, and we have to let the students know that it's not perfect. But the problem is the older generation is where the teachers are positioned in. And the teachers are cautious because we did not use AI when we were studying. However, the younger generation, they are not cautious at all. And they really rely on Gen I because it was their initially from the beginning. So we need to educate students to make good use of Gen I, but at the same time, we have to, remind ourselves that they don't have the same perception as we do. They're not as cautious, and we can't force them to be cautious because they are at a very different standpoint. So when we're talking about making good use of Gen I wisely, how do we do that? Okay, so the research question here is, how can we teach students to use Gen I wisely? So initially, I was planning to make this presentation more framework centered, but I decided to be more detailed and content-based. Because we've had great presentations in other sessions telling us the limitations, but we don't really have presentations giving us details of how to present those limitations to the students. And for me, when we're talking about limitations, what is limitation? Well, if you want to let the students know the limitations, you need to make the students think that they are actually smarter than Gen I. But the tasks that we are giving the students using Gen I normally are overwhelming. And we are actually giving tasks that highlight the greatness of Gen I rather than focusing on the limitations, I think. And so I think this is a weak point that is common to all practitioners. So instead of focusing on the framework, I've decided to give a detailed content of how students can become aware of how they actually can be smarter than Gen I. At the same time, I would also like to give our students a chance to realize that the human user has to be knowledgeable enough about the subject or the topic to bring out the best from Gen I. We talk about giving good prompts, but good prompts require users' intelligence. And so how can we convince our students that they need to be knowledgeable? Those are some of the questions that I'd like to focus on in this presentation. This is the detailed process of the translation work that I've given my students. And I'd like to emphasize the fact that this process is trying to convince the students that they are smarter. They are actually smarter than Gen I, and that Gen I needs their support in order to give better answers. So the limitations to Gen I is the main focus of this process. There are actually 6 steps, and there are 2 reflection stages in this process. Since this is a translation task, we first analyze the original text. And then after the analysis, we have an interaction stage with Gen I. And then after the interaction and making sure that the user understands the full meaning and the context of the original text, then the third step is for the student to actually translate the text. And after the translation, the student reflects upon what he or she has translated using the help of peer evaluation. So here we have human to human interaction, and the other students are helping students to reflect upon and improve their translation. However, unlike traditional classes, step 5, instead of seeking advice only from peer evaluation, we also have a stage where we seek advice from Gen I. And based on that advice, step 6 reflection is the student's evaluation of Gen I's translation. So it's a 2-way evaluation where the student is evaluated by another student, but at the same time, the student evaluates the output of Gen I. Okay, step 1, analysis of the original text. The riddle is an updated version of the one I introduced at the very beginning. Instead of the surgeon, here we have a CEO, company's CEO. Basically, it's an updated version, but the twist is the same. You have to focus on the conversation part. The first part, go ahead, answer it, is the conversation by the son's father. So basically, this can be translated into male language, no problem. But the problem is the second part. Good luck, son. You've got this. Now, when we analyze the original text, the analysis means that we want to make sure that the students really understand the context, what they're expected of, what they're expected from the context translation. So in this part, good luck, son, you've got this. Many of the students who excel in English will come up with the following question. The expression good luck, son seems a bit awkward because in English, normally fathers may address in this way, but mothers don't. Is this okay? Now, traditionally, probably this question would have been presented to the teachers. But now, instead of using the teacher, the students interact with Gen I, and they give this question to Gen I. And in this case, we use ChatGPT, and this is the response we got. In everyday English, mothers don't usually call their son simply son when speaking directly to them. It can sound a bit formal, old-fashioned, or distant, depending on the context. More common are using the son's name or a nickname, sometimes just affectionate terms like honey, sweetheart, kiddo, or sometimes just speaking without a specific term of address. Now, the great part about Gen I is that instead of just giving us these suggestions and information about how to address sons, it also gives us this chance to revise. They actually ask you, would you like us to revise in this way? And this is the revised version given by ChatGPT. Instead of the original good luck, son, you've got this. It's revised to good luck. You've got this. I'm rooting for you. You might have noticed that the problematic son is deleted. But if you delete the son, then the intimate relationship between the mother and child is a little bit, lost. So in order to make up for that, probably, it's added on, I'm rooting for you. And so this is the new version. Now, we don't stop here. What we want the students to do is to really deeply think, which is the better version? Is it really the better version? In order to find this out, what has to be done is that the student himself or herself has to do the translation by hand. And they do the translation, but they can, of course, rely on Gen I if they want to. And the rest of the part actually can be generated by Gen I, no problem. It comes out automatically with perfect translation. But you have to point out to the students that the highlighted area must be carefully thought out. Otherwise, if you rely on Gen I, you might encounter big problems. So the student carefully, deeply thinks about the A version and the B version, and their task is to compare these two and see whether the revised version really is a revised version. Okay, actually, the students translate each sentence, A and B, in the following way. I won't go into detail, but the point is, after translating this, we have peer evaluation. We have each student evaluating others, other translations. And this is the comment given by a different student for this translation. the translation sounds a bit awkward because mothers don't refer to their sons as musuko, son, literally son in Japanese. Kimi, you, also sounds too distant. So there's no intimate relationship between the people conversing here. And for B, the comment was, kimi, you, is awkward again. And the yo, the particle at the end, can be improved. But I'm sorry, I can't help you because I can't give you any suggestions because I don't know how it can be improved. But it does sound unnatural. So this is the comment received from the other students. So what the student does is, instead of course, they can think by themselves, but they seek advice from ChatGPT. This is the prompt. My translation sounds awkward. Can you make it more neutral with no male or female bias? If you recall, this is the part where we don't want to give out the twist part. But at the same time, we want it to sound natural enough so that it sounds like a mother-child conversation. So the translation following the arrow is the actual Japanese translation that was generated by ChatGPT. Surprisingly enough, these highlighted areas, when the student asked ChatGPT to make the original translation sound more natural and eliminate the male-female bias, what came out was not a better version, but a worse version. Worse being, it came out with ungrammatical sentences. The first one is ungrammatical because you cannot say dekiru desu. And because it's ungrammatical, it's of course unnatural. The second B, this is grammatical. In grammar form, it's okay, but it sounds too formal. And as a context, here again, we have a mother-child interaction here. So it's too formal and unnatural. So the student now realizes that even if you try to revise the original translation into a better direction using the advice based on ChatGPT, they can go in the other direction, meaning it's they just literally, failed and they came up with worse versions. So I was very happy when after this reflection stage, the student came up with the comment, I should not easily trust everything generated by ChatGPT. ChatGPT is not that smart after all. And I think this is the very important aspect that we have to teach students. When we deal with GenAI, GenAI is so sophisticated, it can do, it can handle big data instantly. And so we tend to use GenAI for sophisticated activities. For example, instead of just translating one single sentence, we tend to have our students use it to for creative writing, starting from choosing the topic to structuring the sentences, to structuring the paragraphs, and elaborating on the holistic writing process. But if we do that, then we're going in the wrong direction because we're not actually teaching them the limitations, but we're actually highlighting what GenAI is good at, because it can handle lots of data instantaneously. And when you are shown, a whole text instantaneously in a different language, then that itself overwhelms the students. And how can you teach your students the limitations when they are already overwhelmed with what GenAI can do, which takes them forever to complete? So I showed you this detailed process to make you aware that we talk about limitations in general. and we talk about human-oriented activities and the importance of human intelligence. But in fact, the tasks that we are asking our students to do actually are going in the other way. And it's not the limitations, but actually we are highlighting on the best parts of what Gen I can do. And so for a starting point, the important thing is there are many different ways of using Gen I, but the important starting point is to make sure that the students know there are limitations. And in that sense, you might have had doubts about using translation in this type of task. But translation is very, for me at least, I think it was very effective in making the students become aware of the limitations, because the limitations, as I said at the beginning of this presentation, is to make sure that the students know that they can actually do better, or they excel in some aspects. And it's important to highlight that area if you really want your students to know the limitations. Now, this, the riddle was a very simple task concerning translation, but the same thing can be done in literary work. This is an example of Uncle Tom's Cabin. The same process can be used to make the students become aware of the limitations of Gen I. In the same way as we had done for the riddle, you highlight the areas that need particular attention. The other areas, non-highlighted areas, may be generated by Gen I, no problem. They can instantly do that. And it would be okay for the students to use that. But they should not rely too much on the highlighted area, because these really need to be paid attention to. These are the conversation areas. And again, from the social linguistic perspective, there are many things that you have to think about when translating. Especially you have to think about the relationship between the characters. You have to think of their background, their social status, their regional status. There are many things that have to be taken into consideration. But here again, you look at the conversation, you have the students carefully analyze and try to come up with what would be important in translating these sentences. This is using DeepL, the translated version of the Uncle Tom's Cabin. And what happens is I had the students evaluate this translation, but without letting them know that it was generated by Gen I. The students assumed that it was a student that had translated this. The feedback I got was basically positive. It's easy to read, easy to understand. The relationship between the master and slave is well captured. And the translation is precise, excluding misses. I think this person misunderstood the word, but other than that, it's precise translation. And overall, everything is coherent and consistent. And I think that's why it makes it very easy to read. Now, this is what the initial feedback was. What I did was, after they had independently evaluated the Gen I translation, I handed them this evaluation sheet. And this time I had all their translation peer reviewed. And it was just among one of them. So after this evaluation, the comments changed drastically. It's the same translation, but this time the students were comparing the DeepL translation with the actual human translation translated by the students. And this is completely different from the feedback we got previously. The conversation part lacks the characteristics of each character, thus making it difficult for the readers to distinguish who is talking to whom. Now you see the change in perspective. In the previous feedback, they put emphasis on easy to understand or easy to read. But here they're really deeply thinking about the relationship between the characters. And when you think about the relationship, the main text and the conversation cannot be distinguished. And also the conversation style is not distinguished. So it's difficult to distinguish between who's talking to who. And also the same sentence is translated twice. And of course it was translated twice previously, but they just overlooked that because they were overwhelmed by the fact, well, probably they didn't really recognize it in the beginning. Conversation part is too formal. Some of the words and phrases are omitted, easy to read, but many words are deleted. And so they start to find these problems. So the concluding remark would be, we must not take it for granted that students share the same limitations and doubts towards AI as we teachers do. And although it's very difficult to explicitly teach what is and is not acceptable in use for AI, we need to at least give the students a chance to experience being a successful learner. And by doing that, they can understand the AI's limitations. And also, if you compare AI, if you look at AI output alone, that doesn't really ring bells. But if you compare AI with human output, then that helps the students to realize the shortcomings of these AI outputs. So I think the important take-home message is don't overwhelm the students. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the wonderful presentation. I think we have time for one question. Yeah, Professor Eric.
Thank you for the presentation. I really enjoyed it and learned a lot. But out of curiosity, I mean, you started with the sociolinguistic perspective, which is really amazing. However, I feel like you're missing in terms of the gender, right? I mean, the framing that I got from you is gender is only male, female, that mother, son, father, son only exists as, you know, what about father, father, and, you know, mother, mother in a relationship, right? So have you also kind of addressed that? Because see, I think what's coming out was we're supposed to think that doctor is only father, but, you know, there are now societies where, you know, you have two fathers or you have two mothers. So in your attempt to share that biases are there, have you also addressed that type of,
Yes.
you know, relationships and realities in people's lives?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for bringing that up. Actually, do you all know the drama, The Good Doctor? Yes, it's an American drama. In that context, you have actually a male mother and a male father in the drama. And I use those types of dramas to let them know that, you know, it's a diverse world. And this is just the beginning, to let them, you know, realize that social linguistic factors are important. But as you said, I also use dramas to let them know the diversity that is now existing in this world. And I used Uncle Tom's Cabin actually to let them know that this is a conversation between the owners and the slaves. And here again, this is a social linguistic factor. So there are many factors involved, and I was only able to introduce a partial part. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think it's time for coffee break. We'll come back at 4 p.m.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you and welcome back. So our next presentation is titled Exploring the Role of AI in Student-Faculty Email Communication at EMI Universities. And our presenters are Detong and Ling. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So in today's presentation, we're going to focus on the email thing and like how AI can be used to help or not help for the students writing email. So to just start, I just want to show a short video, not that long, say about 1 minute thing. Just want to show like how teachers might freak out over student emails.
You guys, it is April, the end of April. It's almost May. We're still having this problem here with the emails. I'm getting pretty sick of it. Let me show you what I'm talking about because this is all just from this week alone. I've got this one right here with no body. All it has is a subject line that says, yo, my mom's mad at my grade. You should fix it, OMG. I don't even know what that means, okay? So whoever sent this and wants me to fix their grade, I know it was you. I'm probably not gonna do it. What else we got? Move, please. Bruh. Can like I move, please? Jackson, lowercase, it's a proper noun. Keeps mewing next to me. R from Connor. I don't even know what mewing means, but Jackson, whatever that is, if you could stop doing it, I'd appreciate it. And Connor, just be a little more accepting, okay?
Okay, I think I just want to stop here. Yeah, I just want to give you some flavor about like how emails, the importance of email, I would say. So email actually is an example of tiresome yet a very necessary communicative task in universities. So actually the study situates in the context of EMI Universities, that is the English as a medium of instruction. So it is not in the, like say, Chinese mainland universities. We all know that in the Chinese mainland universities, actually we don't use emails for communication that much, but in the EMI universities, basically the faculty and students communications heavily rely on emails. So now I want to show you like some emails that we have received from students. For example, like these are the real emails that have sent to me. Like I already provided you with a form in our first meeting. Can you fill in the necessary boxes and assign a form to confirm my project? And ... It has already been a day and you have not replied yet. So that is something my student sent to me. And here, hey, I'm in your class this semester, but have missed the first 4 days due to some expected problems, blah, blah. And there is like some signals or emojis. I would like to make up the work if you, a very short you, can send me the syllabus and all the handouts. Thank you, blah, blah, blah. And ends with LOL and THX. I'm not sure how you feel about it when you got emails from students like this. But to be honest, I would say I'm not that happy if I got the emails like this from my students, actually. So we all know that emails is a genre with recognizable conventions and expectations. So when students, they break these kind of conventions, while if we assume that, okay, for a student who knows the genre actually has some conventions, and if he breaks it, we know that he might have something else to say. But what if the student himself actually doesn't know the conventions of an email? So if that is the case, we feel like we need to help him to solve this problem. However, in the literature and also in our own practice, we know that there's actually almost no, I would say, courses designed to teach students how to write a proper emails or to teach the students these kind of conventions. So in the AI age, what students might to do? Probably they will turn to AI for help. So this is a research in our university in which I collaborate with these undergraduate students. So we have 7 students in this project. So all of them took part in this project. So I want to recognize their names here. And we also have Ling here, and she's one of the students and also going to present some of her findings. Yes. Okay, so in the aim of this project is that we want to understand how students use AI, such as DeepSeek or ChatGPT, to create their emails when they communicate with their faculty members in the university. And also we want to investigate the features that student email exhibit compared to AI-generated output. And lastly, what we want to understand how students and also the person who will get their emails, that is the faculty, will their self-written emails and also the AI-assisted emails. So to start with, in the methods part, we actually recruited 55 students in total who joined this I will call a writing task. So all the students come into a lab settings and they have their own laptop, and they are given a task sheet in which they will need to write 2 prompt-based emails. And all of their output are screen recorded because we want to see how they actually interact with the DeepSeek. And in the first round, students, they have their self-written emails. And then in the second round, they are suggested that they can interact with DeepSeek and then submit the emails they feel like they're satisfied and will finally send to the faculty members. And we also, after this kind of writing task, we collect students' surveys about how they feel about the email writings. And also for some of them who are interested in a semi-structured interview, we ask them to share some opinions and with us. And we also have the faculty part. Sorry. In the faculty part, we would like the faculty to judge 2 emails. One is the student self-written emails. The other is the final emails students submitted after the assistance of the DeepSeek. And for those who are willing to share their opinions, we ask them to join the semi-structured interview. So these are the 2 tasks sheet we gave them. We have task A and task B. For each task, we have 2 subtasks, but I would say they are the similar for each task in, say, the big task 1, big task A and task B, they are of similar things. So for example, in a task A, we give them a scenario and says that they will need to request for an appointment. That is a very common kind of topic or things students will do in the university. And in the second task, in task A, is that they can request for extension of the due date. So students can choose which one they would like to select for the writing task. And for the task B, I would say regarding the complexity of the task, you can see that task B is more complex. It is not a very easy one, such as, say, asking office hour appointment. It is more like students need to have more pragmatic skills to strategically, say, decline the email of a research opportunity offered by the professor, and also to decline an offer for the thesis supervision. So we can see that actually task B is more complex and also more uncommon compared to task A. So here is the research design. We say it is a mixed method one. So you can see that we have 2 counterparts. We have 2 sections here. One section is about the student part. The other section is about the faculty part. So in the student part, as I said, students will need to join in a writing task, and all their writing process are screen recorded, and for all their queries, or we say the messages they send to ChatGPT to help them to write the emails, we use the Flower and Hayes 1981 framework to code their writing process. So we use the qualitative methods to do the coding things. So that is to answer our first research question. That is, what writing processes do students engage when they write their emails with assistance of the AI? And there is also second part from the student, that is their opinion. So we would like to see how they feel about using the AI to help writing emails to their professors. And So when we analyze their surveys, we use the TAM, that is Technology Acceptance Model, a very frequently used one. And regarding the method analysis part, we use the theme analysis. So these data, we use them to answer the second research question, that is, how do students perceive AI in their email writing? And on the other side, it is the faculty's part. So in the faculty's part, actually, we would like to get how the teachers and the faculty members perceive of the students' emails and also the AI Cissy one. That is for the fourth research question. We want to know, how do faculty perceive AI in student email writing? And another part, another part is that about the characteristics of the emails. So basically, we have 3 versions of emails: student self-written one without any assistance, and the AI-generated one. That is when students talk with AI-generated one. And the third one is that after AI give them the output, and students might have some modifications, and until the point they are satisfied with the version, and then they submit to their professors, and that is what we call student finalized emails. So when we analyze the characteristics of the 3 versions of emails, we use Craig's taxonomy of paraphrase type. Basically, we want to see how students modify the ChatGPT generative version to, I would say, to achieve the status that they are satisfied and they feel they are ready to send to their professors. And for this part, we would like to answer the third research question: how similar are self-written, AI-generated, and student finalized emails in content and style? So in today's presentation, we focus on the RQ1 and the RQ3, as this part, perception part, they are still ongoing. About the writing process, in the Flower and Haze model, it is a very popular writing model to, I would say, to categorize the writing process or the cognitive process the writers is doing when they're writing. So it contains 3 major sections: planning, translating, and reviewing. So planning is just something like to gather info and to set goals. For example, like if you are writing an argumentative writing, you may say that, okay, so what is the characteristic structure of an argumentative writing? So this kind of structure thing is what we need to do in the planning. And the second, another phase is called translating. This translating is that we have some ideas in the writing and we translate these ideas into the written text. That is to turn ideas into text. And the third phase is called reviewing, and that is to some editing, revising, or evaluating. So these kind of things all belong to reviewing. And in addition to all the 3 categories provided by Flower and Haze, we also develop a 4th one, which is we call all. That is our newly added one, because when we analyze students' queries with the DeepSeek, we figure out like, well, sometimes they just copy the directions and say something, write an email for me. So we feel like in the all phase, students is doing actually ask the DeepSeek to do all the 3 things, including planning, translating, and reviewing. So just to ask AI to write all the things in this task. So if that is the case, we code it as the all. So in total, for task 1, we have 122 messages. And for task 2, we have 150 messages. And when we analyze the query students sent to DeepSeek, and we identify 10 major codes. And here are the codes here. So under the code all, we have the direct copy, that is just copy the prompt into the queries and send it. And we also have the copy with edits, copy the prompt and say something like, probably you can write it more politely, things like that. And the third one is called prompt rewriting. That is, students actually are not direct copy the prompt, but try to paraphrase or restate the prompt in their own words, which we call prompt reviewing. rewriting. And for the reviewing part, we also have we have 4 categories. For the reviewing, we have grammar check, that is students use the AI to check grammars. And we also have style adjustment, content revision, and also feedback. For the translating, we have, and we identify 2 codes. One is generate text. The second is expand text. And we calculate the percentage of the unique users who are involved in this kind of writing process in their queries, and to give the percentage here. And now I'm going to explain one by one. So I would say the most astonishing thing we figure out, as you can see from this chart, is that there is no category figured out about planning. That is, no student actually in our writing task use AI for planning. So actually, before this kind of task, I might expect students might start with something, well, how to write an email with the professor, or what is the structure we need to follow to write an email to the professor. But it turns out that no students actually use AI for this function. Why is that? So probably we can get some insights from the interview. So here are some direct quotes from the interview. I translated into English. So actually the students actually use Chinese in the interview, and here is my translated version. So one student says that I already know how to write this kind of email. I just ask AI to polish it. So it seems that for him, the emails is just a kind of routine. So he knows the standard, the format. So just no need to engage in the planning in AI. And some student says, I don't need new ideas from AI since I'm just emailing to schedule a simple office hour. That is the things they frequently done every day. So just no need to do that. And this also give us some hints about, say, basically email is a type of genre with, I would say, simpler structure, or compared with more demanding or complicated tasks, say, for example, like augmentative writing. So because the email structure is quite simple, and students say the structure of an email is fixed, I don't really need AI to tell me how to organize it. And so that is for this first planning part. And for the reviewing part, we identify 3 things that we want to share. So first, we figure out that students predominantly use AI to adjust the tone of speech and to revise content, seldom use it to check their grammar. Well, I would say that is something not that similar to some of the presentations given in this conference, right? Actually, I attended several. It says that a lot of teachers actually suggest that we can use AI to check the grammar in the writing. So I may say the genre can explain part of the reasons. I would say for the emails, it is a simpler genre and it's very short. I would say a lot of words are quite formulaic and fixed, so students seldom use it for the grammar check. So you can see from the tables here, for the grammar check part, it's only account 8% for the task A and only 2% for task 2. So it doesn't use that much for the grammar check. So students, some of the queries students send includes help me fix grammar and please help me fix grammar, but these kind of things are not that frequently used when they interact with DeepSeek for the email writing. And from the interview data, student says that I still worry about the grammar, so I use AI to check it first. That can show that even though it is not that frequently used, some students still use it for the grammar check function. The most frequently used part for the AI in reviewing is style adjustment. We know that email is something that more pragmatic demanding, I would say, because there's kind of like hierarchical relationship between the senders, I would say the student, and also who received the email, that is the professor. This kind of power or hierarchical relation makes that students need to be more conscious about the tone in their email. So they mainly use AI to adjust their tone. especially for a more polite and respectful and formal style. So we have a lot of queries in the DeepSeek descent saying that, can you make it more polite, make it more respectful and more polite? So it suggests that while students largely rely on AI to refine their style in their email writing, and they also use AI for content revision, that is to add something, delete something, reorganize part of the email. So in this part, a lot of students use email for the logic thing. They feel like their version is not that logically connected, so they want to use AI to reorganize for a better logic and coherence. And as to the translating, that is to translate their ideas into text, we figure out something quite interesting about the task differences. As we introduced at the beginning, that task 1 is simpler than task 2. We find task 1 is simpler than task 2, and there's a lot of students use the AI for translating in task 1 than task 2. So why is that? I would say, for a very familiar scenario like appointment, office hours, students just feel like this kind of thing is quite easy for them. And for the second thing, that is to decline offer, they feel like they are more sensitive and they rely more on the AI for the content development. And for the all thing, well, I would say a lot of students, especially in task 2, just copy the prompt and ask AI to do that. So, well, more students rely fully on AI when they decline research opportunity because they feel like this kind of task is quite sensitive and demanding, and they feel like they have never done this kind of thing before. So if that is kind of unfamiliar scenario, they rely on AI to do that. So just as I said, less familiar, socially sensitive task, they have more reliance on AI. But if it is quite familiar and things they have been routinely done, students just feel like AI might not be that helpful or needed. So the takeaway message, I would say, for the writing process part regarding students' use of AI in email writing to faculty members, I would say students predominantly use AI to refine their tone of speech, and if these kind of things are quite familiar to them, they rely less on AI. But if there are things that are quite unfamiliar to them, they would like to rely more on the AI. And now I will give the stage to Ling, and she is also a part of this project, and she will explain what she has done regarding text modification part.
Yeah.
Is the next presenter here? Take your time.
Okay. So now I will introduce the text modification of our research. And this part mainly solves the problem that is how similar are AI generated and student finalized emails. So we applied CAC's taxonomy of paraphrase types as our framework. And this framework consists of like 4 main paraphrase types based on the variable of unique links. And unique links can be identified as either individual lexical words, for example, like noun, verbs, adjective, adverbs, or as precisely the exactly copy strings of words that occurred in the original excerpt or were absent from all other part in the original text. And CAC also mentioned another except that is general links, which can be identified as lexical words that occur in both the original excerpt and original text.
But in our research, the unique link is the primary variable during the classification. So I will give you a small example to show how it works. Like in the revised sentence, the comparable word is general link. And there are two unique links in this sentence. The first one is that different jobs can be rated equal, which is a 7-word phrase, and paid equally is a 2-word phrase. So the total number of the words contained within the unique link is 9. And since the total words of the sentence is 21, by doing some very simple calculation, we can come out that the unique link is 43% in the sentence, which is the minimal revision. So in our study, the judgment were conducted based on a 5-point ordinal scale. An exact copy means that 100% of the words were copied from the original text, and the near copy represents a highly overlapping content with about 50% to 99% of words contained within the unique links. And for students who made more modifications, we classified it as minimal revision and moderate revision. For those without any matching text, we classified it as substantial revision. And our analysis focused on the email body only, excluding the header and the closing section. For each email, we count the number of the sentences belong to the type of text modification, and all the attempted paraphrases were classified into some specific types within the taxonomy. So here are some preliminary analysis based on the results. As we can see here, the table presents the distribution of paraphrase type across task A, task B, and the combined data with 3 metrics, that is sentence number, the main percentage of unique links, and the percentage of sentences per category. So before analyzing the attempted paraphrases, we've discovered that about 82% students performed the exact copy. And as in the attempted paraphrases, the near copy dominates, and then is the minimal revision, which account for about 19%. And substantial revision peaked in the task B, while the moderate revision was the least frequent. And crucially, the students who performed the exact copy in task A, like almost replicated this behavior in the task B. And also those who make modifications were also nearly the same people in both tasks. And here are some examples from the paraphrase types. In the near copy cases, the students tend to make some directly retain the call structure and vocabulary, such as greetings or fixed expressions. They will make some partial word adjustments. And in the minimal revision, students will partially retain the call structure, and most of them choose to adjust the tone and add some limited original expressions. Like in this case, the students changed the expression from a direct way to a more indirect way. So, and in the moderate revision, it is notable that it has the lowest proportion in the whole paraphrase types. The underlying reason may be that moderate revision retains both retaining the original logic and also the restructuring the sentence or adding some details, which require higher English proficiency. Since the vast majority of our participants were L2 English speakers, so this kind of revision may be challenging for them. And students' substantial revision shows that they will keep the core idea but will completely change the sentence structures. And we also found a striking difference between task B and task A. In the task B, where students are required to write an email to declining the offer from the professor. So while in the task A, students just need do some time adjustment. So from a student perspective, we tend to make some substantial revision when we meet some more complex parts, because we need to care about the relationship when we are communicating with the professor. And here are some key takeaways from our funding. First, we find that students relied too much on the AI-generated content when they are writing emails, as most of them chose exact copy or near copy. And for those who made modifications, they focus more on adjusting the politeness or in tune. And thirdly, the substantial revision depends on the task complexity. And lastly, the moderate revision, which requires higher English proficiency, were very real among the L2 English speakers. Yeah, and that's all of our finds so far. And thank you for your listening.
Thank you so much for the wonderful presentation. It's time for Q&A. Any question?
Thank you. It's not really a question, but as a faculty member who receives a lot of AI-generated emails from students, I'm interested in the second part that you mentioned about faculty feedback.
Yeah.
Can you just say a bit more about your plan, and are you going to measure that, and how you're going to measure that, if you already have a plan in mind?
Yeah, so basically we distribute questionnaires to the faculty members, and first part is like the demographic info about the faculty, like their work experience, division, things like that. And in the second part, we actually just randomly select, because we have the student written emails and the AI assisted ones. So we just randomly select 4 emails and to ask the faculty members to judge the likelihood they perceive it as AI or human written, and also to see, to ask their opinions about the effectiveness, politeness, formality, and their willingness to respond to the emails. And then we're going to analyze the kind of data things. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
Positive aspects of AI, and of course we want to do that. This one's more oriented on trying to stop students from overusing AI early on in their writing process, especially students that need to develop the language skills that they need in our particular writing courses at Ohio State University, where we place students into our classes for ESL students based on a pretest before they ever arrive on campus. We get a sample of their writing through an online monitored test that decides whether we think they need additional writing support. So they're placed into one of 2 classes that help them prepare to then enter the mainstream English required composition course that all Ohio State students take. We're trying to help them get ready for that. If a student is overusing AI in our course that's aimed at helping getting them ready for the mainstream English classes, that's working against their own interests and the interests of our writing program. So here I'm going to talk about encouraging students to do their own writing, and what can we do with Microsoft Word that can help us use that tool, the tools available to help be a detective about making sure that students are going through the recursive writing process that we want them to. So we all know there's growing challenges if you're trying to make sure that students are doing their own work, that they're doing it honestly, and trying to do the language skill development that we want them to do. Some institutions have contracts. Even Turnitin has different tiers that you can use. Ohio State is using Turnitin. They haven't opted into the AI detection part of that yet. And if you look at the statistics carefully from any of the AI detection tools, you'll know that they're not foolproof. They're not great at catching all of the AI. So if you're going to use that as a determining factor of students failing a particular assignment or having to rework a particular assignment, I think you're on kind of shaky ground doing so. So we're trying to build things up from the bottom up to make sure that students are doing their own work from the tools that we have available. Ohio State is contracted with Microsoft, so students and faculty all use the Microsoft suite. All of that should be protected to not be sharing student personal information and training the AI on our own internal documents. We hope at least that Microsoft is living up to their end of the bargain. Now, if you're working at other places, you might have other tools available to you. I'm not sure if people have heard of Draftback or Grammarly Authorship, our new players in this field. These tools let you look at the writing history of a document to see some evidence that students have been opening the file and working on it in steps. So we'll talk about those briefly. And that's currently missing in the Microsoft world. We hope it's in development, but we haven't seen that yet. So this presentation is trying to look at what do we have available in Microsoft that maybe makes up some of the gap that's missing from these other tools. So if you haven't heard of Draftback, Draftback dates back to 2014. So before even AI was in the mainstream usage, Draftback was a tool that this developer added to Google Chrome. It's an extension you can add on. It's free, and you can add it anytime as long as you can access Google documents. So you can add this to your Chrome extension. It replays every keystroke in a Google Doc from its inception. So you're tracking the history of a document throughout whatever changes are added there. So this was originally intended to give a replay of the writing process so that writers could go back and remember, you know, kind of that reflective part of writing to think about, what was I thinking at this moment? Okay, I can see where I changed course here or something like that. Now, Draftback has been adopted by many language teachers, English language teachers, K through 12 teachers in America, as a kind of a policing mechanism, a surveillance tool that lets us get to the history of a document to try to inspect how that document has developed over time. So if you're not familiar with Draftback, some of the tools that are available once you add that extension, it adds a little, so this is a regular Google Doc in a browser. This is the top of the browser. When you add Draftback to the Google Chrome extension, it shows you how many revisions there are in a document. So you can see if there are many revisions, that's giving a clue that the students have been working on the document many times over time. If it's just one revision and boom, they made a perfect essay from one sitting, that's suspicious, right? So this is a initial indication of how much work has been done on this document. And if you've been encouraging the writing process from brainstorming to outlining to drafting to feedback to sharing peer reviews and things like that, you should see many, many drafts. And if you use it yourself, you'll notice many, many drafts in the way that natural writing generally takes place. Another thing that it gives you is the change log. The change log lets you replay all the changes in a document like a video. So when you click the change log, you can see the document in its current form. If you push play, you can play it at regular speed or you can speed it up and faster over time to see where the edits took place, that they were working from popping in notes or popping in an outline to developing part of the introduction, then jump to the first paragraph. Then, okay, that day we were working on topic sentence. Here there's developing their topic sentence, things like that. So you can replay the document's development over time. If you start to see blocks of text getting copied in at once that weren't typed in manually, again, that's some evidence that something outside of the general writing process that we've been encouraging is taking place. Maybe they're using AI, maybe they're using translation and copying in blocks of text. Another cool feature, once you get familiar with it, you can see where in the documents the changes took place and the dates that those things took place. So here is a document from the first page to the end, and where were those edits taking place in graphic form. So again, you'd start to see some evidence that, oh, this makes sense. They started in the beginning, they worked on the next part, they went back and edited certain parts of the document that corresponded where we were in the class at those times. So that's DraftBack. If you haven't tried it, please feel free. It's part of the Google Chrome extension available. Grammarly authorship seems to have taken many clues from that freely available DraftBack software and is trying to incorporate them in their Grammarly suite, where they're trying to get more money from individuals and institutions to adopt the Grammarly package. Authorship is now available in Google Docs as a browser extension, or you can do Microsoft Word in Grammarly for Windows or Mac. So it is possible in many different platforms. There's a free tier, a pro tier, and a premium tier with different capabilities according to those different price points. According to their description, Grammarly authorship enables users to demonstrate sources of text in their Google Doc or Microsoft Documents. So again, they have a document open. The student or the teacher clicks on the history of the development of the document, and you're generating authorship analytics like a writing activity report with Grammarly's detection of how much was typed by a human and how much seems to be copied in from an external source that could have been AI generated or translation software, which is often also AI supported. The authorship report also lets you see by color coding those different statistics in the document. So this part seems like it was typed by a human. The other parts might look like they came in from AI sources. So you have, again, some more evidence to go to the student and say you didn't really follow the spirit of this assignment or the rules of the class for creating your own work. You'll notice that some things, of course, are pro tier only. So that's what's available. And many schools are already in the Google universe. My sons are high school students. Their school is using Google. Their teachers could be doing DraftBack if they wanted to for free. But we're at Ohio State. We're stuck in Microsoft. We don't have contracts with Google. And individual students, instructors could tell their students, let's use Google. Don't tell anybody. But as a program, we can't be recommending that to our 20 different teachers and securing the privacy and confidentiality of the students. So we need to work in Microsoft Word. What do we have available that does anything like those other tools currently? So today I'm going to talk a little bit about version history, track changes, and comments. Some of you might already be aware of those things, but have you thought of them as another way to help enforce whatever rules or guidelines you're asking your students to do their own writing? Yeah. So it's not as robust as those things that we were looking at. It wasn't tailored to do those things yet, but the version history of a document, if you've never looked at it, can give you a sense of how the document has developed over time. When it is saved to OneDrive, keyword, the document must be saved to the cloud so that the student and the teacher or whoever's looking at the document can access the version history. If a student starts their own file on their own computer, it's not going to have the version history saved. So the instructor needs to set up the documents for the students in class, shared folder, here's your document, please work in this file if you don't want to spend the time teaching your students how to do that. Or I would say, let's use this as a teaching opportunity to tell students about OneDrive, which is new for many of the students that we're teaching at Ohio State. They haven't worked with saving files in a cloud or thought about how to organize their class load work in the cloud. So we're saving things to OneDrive. That lets you check the version history. The version history, of course, like Google Docs version history or some other writing tools version history, lets you go back to any of these versions and say, I'd rather go back to that one. Let's replace the current version back to that one. I want to restore this early version. So it's good for students to not lose their work, something we also want to encourage them to do. From the teacher's perspective, if we have show edits enabled, it also lets you identify when large blocks of text have been copied in. So you can start clicking on these different modifications to see what happened in that session. And of course, our due date is 11:59 midnight before class. Suddenly, 2 pages get copied in. Now we have ammunition or something concrete to go to the student and say, I don't just suspect you of cheating, I can see it here in the version history, which is a contentious issue for students paying for credits, hoping to get a score. Everything needs to be by the book. It can't just be, well, it doesn't seem like you're writing. You have to have some evidence. From the student side, it's also protecting them. If a teacher goes to them and say, this doesn't seem like the work you've been doing lately. This seems like a sudden leap or strange language or something. The student can say, look I have all my history here. I've done all the work. Maybe I used AI to look up words. Maybe I used a dictionary, something like that. But there isn't anything sticking out as large blocks of text being copied in, where AI did the homework for them. The other part of this is showing your students that you have access to this might be enough to get them scared straight back on track. So they might not understand that you can't actually see the stroke coming in the way that draftback or Grammarly authorship works, but they don't know exactly what you can see. So again, more of a policing mechanism, letting them know that you can see and I can see the version history should be a tool that teachers can utilize to keep them on the straight and narrow for doing their own work. Now, track changes. If anybody's worked on a document with others and you've done track changes, you can know some of the good and bad of track changes, but track changes is another tool that we could use to keep the students working as long as it's enabled. So this is under the review tab. We go to track changes and track changes for everyone working on the document. Students could save the version of the document with those changes as that day's work. Then that locks in those changes highlighted by color, where the grammar got changed, or by comments if they want to explain what they're doing. Again, this could be part of the tool of encouraging the writing process, including encouraging reflective writing from our students. Oh, after we had a review of topic sentences, I wanted to change my topic sentence. Is this correct? Right? So we could have this as a dialogue running with the instructor. You mentioned that I didn't have a focus in my topic sentence. Is this better? Something like that. You can also use the reviewing pane, which I've done track changes for years and years. I didn't know the reviewing pane had the summary of all the revisions on the side. So again, it's already part of the track changes tools available for us. Again, it's getting at some of the features that draftback and authorship offer more robustly, but in the standard Microsoft Word package. So it's not as robust as what draftback and authorship can do, but there are things that we can do with version history, track changes, and comments. The reviewing pane that we can utilize to help students produce their own work. Take note that not everybody loves this approach to policing students, and some have labeled this surveillance of student work. And some of the problems of that is that you're emphasizing product over process, focusing on making sure the work is your own rather than how you got to there and what outside tools you were using to help you. Because AI is mostly modeled on what it considers to be the current standards of high quality writing. Of course, that is a biased pool of sample. It's looking at the successful type of writing in the field, which already has the biases built in. So the model is training on a biased system. And now you're comparing students to that system. It also sets up the adversarial student-instructor dynamics, where you're trying to scare students instead of trying to encourage students to do their own work. These are critiques in the field, recent papers, recent task force from the Modern Language Association. But there's still the problems that exist if you don't have another resource to help keep students on track with their own writing work. If you don't have students able to prove whatever writing that they did, you're leaving students susceptible to being criticized or blamed or given bad scores when they're unjustified. And just like you're giving teachers ammunition now to make it clear that students did or didn't do their own work. So I think nothing's perfect in the current status, but the more information we have, I think it depends on how you present it to the students and that you're tying it to and encouraging kind of co-constructive reality of the classroom, that we're all trying to do our own work and develop together. And we're using this as a tool to remind us that AI can be helpful. That's going to be later in the process. Once we have the bulk of our work done, then we'll learn how to use AI to check for grammar and spelling and vocabulary choices as a supportive tool, not as a generative tool. So that's basically the main points I wanted to say and things that we're thinking about in our department at Ohio State. Well, thanks very much. I'd like to hear what other people think about this or what other strategies you might use for this kind of problem. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the insightful teaching demonstration. We have time for 2 questions.
Thank you. I think the version checking feature that you share is really useful. And I'm thinking of another usage because somehow I give out group project for students. And I always receive complaint that, oh, that guy is not doing his work, something like that. So do you have any experience of conducting like a collaboration or group project between students and somehow use the version checking to see if all the students are really doing their work? Would that be possible? Thank you.
Yeah, this is all a proposal. It hasn't been enacted yet. So we learned, I just started at Ohio State last year after teaching in Japan for many years. And this is a much more acute problem at my university at Ohio State, where students are coming in at very different levels and hoping to get out of this extra ESL writing class as quickly as possible. So in reaction to that first year of teaching there, I realized we needed a stronger, robust record of the students doing their own work. And as you said, that could tie directly to group work, pair work, peer review, and things like that. It hasn't been done yet, but I think, yeah, once you set it up and make sure that you have version tracking allowed because it's in OneDrive, then I think there are many opportunities to take advantage of it. Great point.
Thank you so much for our presentation. So I used to teach at University of Cincinnati at ESL. So basically at the ESL at a time, we asked students to submit several rounds of, we call first draft, second draft, like the final draft, and to create a portfolio and evaluate whether they can move on to another higher level course. So if like, I'm curious about like how OISU is doing like the track changes, how you're going to say evaluate like how much points you're going to give students for like this kind of doing the track changes, or just what kind of the balance between like the final product and this kind of process in your evaluation?
We're doing similar things. So you're getting points for your outline. I'm giving you feedback on that, trying to stop missteps before they get too deep. First draft, peer reviews, and things like that. Those are the core of the assignment, and they'll still get points for that. That doesn't change anything. What's changing are some of the formatting rules or the requirements of the assignment. You must save your file to OneDrive so that we can see the track changes. So that's non-negotiable. If you don't, I guess we'd have to think about the penalty involved, or how quickly can you go back and start again in making sure that you have saved it to the correct file. I think early in our class, we're going to spend time. I didn't realize how new or how unfamiliar students were with Microsoft Word and how to check different things. And most students came, I think 80% of our students are from China. They're still using Chinese Microsoft Word. When they have Microsoft Word available from OSU, it would be much better if they started fresh with the English version of Microsoft Word with the pages set up for American-sized paper and things like that. And then we have a common reference. So I think in our introductory classes, that's what I'd be recommending, and that's what I'm going to trial this year as part of our early courses, learning about Microsoft Word, learning about OneDrive, why are they useful. They're actually required in our course, but they're useful in all your courses. I would recommend you using them for all of them. And then for the documents, like we say, you need to have 1-inch margins or something. You have to save your file in OneDrive so we can see the version history. That's how I see it fitting in.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Assignment. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. I think that concludes the presentation. Before we leave, I want to remind all of us to complete the survey at the back of our cards. The next thing we need to do is to probably go for the closing keynote in the next 12 minutes. The room is the one just adjacent here. Thank you so much for coming, and enjoy the rest of the conference.